1260 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome into Sports Time, a Monday, May 1st edition of the show. Bryant Dacus, Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder with you, and we've got a lot to get to today. The Grizzlies season is over after the Lakers won the series Friday night, so we'll get into a lot of Grizzlies talk throughout this next hour, but we're sitting in the family leisure studios where family and fun come together, and over across the river in Arkansas, Brett Norsworthy with us as always. Brett, I know we have a ton to get to, but I also know yesterday a very sad day, especially for you watching his career and then his broadcasting career. Mike Shannon passed away Saturday night. It was announced yesterday at the age of 83. I know you, especially, 50 years of broadcasting, you spent plenty of days listening to Mike Shannon.
He made me a Cardinal fan, plain and simple. Along with Jack Buck, they taught me the game. They were the sounds of summer, whether it was a big critical game, big critical series, or just that Wednesday afternoon in June that you turn the game on and you kind of hear the ambient background noise of the stadium or whatever stadium they're in, and you hear that fun-loving spirit of Mike Shannon. We'll talk a lot about the life and the passing of Mike Shannon. Tom Ackerman's going to join us at 4:30 from KMOX, and immediately upon getting the news yesterday morning, Rob Fisher texted me, and Rob Fisher's St. Louis sourcing is very good, and Rob's going to join us tomorrow at 3:30, and I'm going to say this to him when he joins us. I guarantee you, growing up in St. Louis, Rob Fisher knew who Jack Buck and Mike Shannon was before he knew who Santa Claus was.
I wouldn't put it past him. That's for sure.
You just did.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading, of course, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch obviously did a great piece about the life of Mike Shannon and everything he accomplished. I did not know that he was a multi-sport athlete growing up and was the first and only player in Missouri to win High School Player of the Year in both football and basketball in the same year, and then went on to play for Missouri football, part of the freshman team. That was back when they had a freshman and a varsity team.
Under Coach Frank Broyles.
Yeah.
In fact, Coach Broyles tried hard to get him to transfer when he got the Arkansas job. When Arkansas fired Jack Mitchell and hired Frank Broyles, he tried to get Mike Shannon to come to Arkansas with him, but they were staying. They knew baseball was coming with the big bonus baby offer, and it did to the hometown players, St. Louis through and through, the only team he ever played for. And with his broadcasting career and his playing career, 60 years with the Birds on the bat in some fashion for Mike Shannon. But I went to KMOX's live coverage of it yesterday and listened a lot this morning, quite honestly, listened a lot this morning, and just a lineup of great guests to talk about it. And I thought Bob Costas was so compelling and nailed it in. Mike Shannon probably wouldn't have worked many other places as an announcer. But he worked where he was loved, and he knew his listener, and he knew that team, and he knew what drove them. And then to hear Joe Buck this morning, we'll talk to Tom about it. To hear Joe Buck, who, and I'm mostly quoting, paraphrasing, he said, "I slept upstairs with in the house of the greatest baseball announcer that I've ever known." Yeah, he's talking about his dad, Jack Buck, but he also said, "Mike Shannon taught me as much about broadcasting as anyone."
Wow.
I mean, he had it right there with his own dad. But we will go down memory lane with a lot of people today and this week in remembering Mike Shannon. Look, I know there are a lot of people out there in my age group and younger that that all they ever knew as a Cardinal announcer was Mike Shannon. Really knew him. Some younger ones probably knew him better than they even did Jack Buck, and he was great up to the end. Mm-hmm. Last broadcast in the fall of 2021, and had health issues from that point on. Yeah. From what I'm being told, and I was texting last night with his daughter, Dr. Erin Shannon, and she said just really never got over COVID. Mm-hmm. That it hit him really hard and battled with it, and 83 years old.
Yeah,
and it was tough for him to get over. But a good local Mike Shannon story in the summer of 1960, most famously for the summer or the April that Russwood Park burned. The Cardinals AA team was in Memphis that year, and Mike Shannon was on it, and Tim McCarver was on it. And they played all over town after Russwood Park burned on Good Friday, Easter weekend that year. And he played in Memphis, had a lot of friends in Memphis, hunted a lot in eastern Arkansas with players that he played with in the Cardinal system coming up and through the years, and a lot of friends. But we will get to it. But we're going to get to a lot of Grizzlies, too, today. And Friday night was as grim as it can be.
It was an ugly game, and we kind of joked about at what point do you say you're going to bed, and that
halftime.
One, yeah, it was a snoozer at about halftime. I mean, it was hard to watch that second half, hovering around 30
I didn't see
points.
a shot in the second half.
It was ugly. I mean, the Lakers were definitely motivated for that one, and it was just not a great start for the Grizzlies at all, and now their season's come to an end. Just a lot to get to start the offseason, which I don't think any of us at the beginning of the season thought that the offseason would start this early.
We're gonna talk it all today. We're gonna talk NFL draft. We're gonna talk the Grizzlies. We're gonna talk baseball. We're gonna talk the Showboat game. We're gonna talk Mike Shannon. We're gonna talk it all, but we're gonna concentrate on a lot on the Grizzlies. And when we talk about the Grizzlies, and we're gonna talk NBA playoffs, we're gonna get in just how great my hockey picks have been.
Right.
We'll make sure we get that in. We're going to talk it all, but when we get to the Grizzlies, we're also going to talk it all. And if you only hear us today, you may turn on during a segment where it sounds very almost like, did y'all not watch these playoffs?
Yeah.
It may sound like, do these guys know they're out of the playoffs? Mm-hmm. You may turn it on during a segment. Did you not see the regular season? Why are you being so critical? Yeah. Do you not know what they've done over the last 2-3 years and what they have ahead of them? So I don't know what point people might peek in, peek out, listen, go to the podcast, whatever they want to, however they want to listen, however they want to consume. But we're going to talk it all.
Yeah.
And with it all, it's going to be some praise. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of praise. It's going to be my mantra that the Grizzlies are a force for good for this community. I can't imagine our community, I can't imagine our sports lives without them. Yeah. So if you're listening during that time and you're very, very, very pro-Grizzly, or shall we say, #GrizzFam, right, you're going to think, okay, that's great. You might also turn it on and we're going to have critical analysis. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will ever get personal. No. I hope it doesn't ever cross a boundary into unfair. But we're not going to let the last 2 weeks. We're not going to have amnesia about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's kind of how the this season was for the Grizzlies. There was a lot of highs, a lot of lows. It was really a roller coaster season for the Grizzlies. But Brett, before we get into that, how was your Ole Miss baseball trip this weekend?
I'll tell you how bad it was.
The only
Ole Miss
loss.
Wins their first SEC series of the year, and I go to the loss.
Very opposite of your how you did with going to Grizzlies games this year.
It is an opposite of going to Bud Walton Arena,
yeah.
And I have not had great success lately when I attended. Well, I did get the win over Maryland back in late February, but
Huge
SEC
win,
wins. But SEC wins, I haven't been very good. I'm going to give it another try in 2 weeks, though, against Auburn. And the defending national champs are staring exactly at what Mississippi State was facing a year ago. Not even go to Hoover.
Whew. That would be hard to believe for but it's like you said, it's what Mississippi State did last year, and
history repeats itself.
Team
in Mississippi wins it all. misses their conference championship the next year.
This year will be Southern Miss.
I told a friend of mine Saturday, I would take this deal right now with whoever's in charge of all this. Dog pile in Omaha 1 June and then nothing the next year. Sign me up for it. I'll take it. You almost get a rotational year with it, but they still can rebound this week at Mizzou, then home against this week at Mizzou, then home against Auburn, and then at Alabama at the end of the year. I'm not saying they need 3 sweeps, but they need to win all 3 series.
Yeah, they definitely do. But that's 3 good opponents to end the season. So you could do some damage.
But the step in the right direction. Just won a series. Right. This is the momentum they need. Carry it over.
It can only go up from there.
Well, it can go down, but you don't want it to.
Georgia had swept Arkansas at home the week before. Then Arkansas sweeps A&M at home this past weekend, and that Mississippi State not going to Hoover last year and Ole Miss facing that this year, it speaks to a lot of things, and how good the SEC that it is one of the things that it screams loudly.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the best conference in baseball. Anybody can win any weekend, no matter who's playing. So, it hasn't been a great year for Ole Miss, but they can certainly turn around. Were you able to make the Showboats game that night?
I was not able to. I stayed in Oxford and went to the Square and had a good time at Double Decker, so I didn't make it back. But then when I got home finally was toward the end of a heartbreaking Showboat loss. And I was thinking, y'all, it looked cold on TV. Was it cold at the stadium?
I'll be honest, I didn't go. After all the rain, I decided to not go.
I toughed it out. It wasn't very cold. A sneaky cover for you guys. I'm a little disappointed. First cover of the year for the Showboats, though. I think that deserves a congratulations.
It was the first cover of the year. Bryant stands now at 850. I'm at 500. Jay Morgan, even with a substantial loss of 200, he's at 1075 for the year in Showboats bankroll.
Might be. I feel like Jay's just going to continue to fade the Showboats even after that cover. It might be
a strategy. I'm not saying. Hey, if they would have won this week, that would absolutely have been the strategy. Now I'm a little iffy on it, but we'll see what happens.
Well-known Showboat hater, Jay Morgan Harder, who tailgated Saturday.
He sure did.
Went out there with chairs and a table. Yeah, I had a good time. I can't lie.
And great deals to get on Tiger Lane for a game. $30.
And I got a Showboat sweatshirt as well when I went. Wow. So I'm repping the
Nobody should ever challenge your boat's bona fides, should they?
That's right.
Tell you what, if they don't start winning, though, I'm going to have to buy me a gambler's sweatshirt. And
do they sell them?
Oh, they do, yes. They very
really?
Much. So
I love the gambler's helmet.
Yeah.
It's a great-looking helmet. That's right.
Great lid.
Sure
Great lid. It was in the day. It is now.
It was, and a little chippy in that game on Saturday. Maybe because both are stationed here. They see each other all the time. A little chippy early in that game.
How about the open mic catching time?
Oh, man. I like the open mics in the spring league games.
Passionate coach, too.
He is very passionate.
Speaking of mics, too, this is totally changing the subject. I apologize.
It's okay.
I was watching the Peacock broadcast of the Marlins and the Cubs yesterday.
Oh, that was the Sunday morning leadoff
11 o'clock game, and they did an interview with Jazz Chisholm while he batted.
While he batted?
They asked him a question while the pitcher was in the windup. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Did he answer it?
Yeah, but it was a terrible interview. He's focusing on hitting.
Right.
It was unbelievable. I'm so sorry. But speaking of interviews during the game, that was the most peculiar thing I had ever seen. I didn't know if you guys saw it or not.
I missed that.
I did too.
I was in the Lord's house while that game was going on, so a little more important things.
Good for you.
But that is interesting. I can understand the fielding interviews and kind of in between pitches and ask questions and stuff.
Terrible.
I
think
crazy.
They wanted to talk to him while he was on deck. It was a one pitch at bat, and so they just talked to him while he hit.
So why not? Let's just keep on going. I'll tell you the worst thing.
I thought that would violate some unwritten rule in baseball.
Think so.
I agree.
Or even just a written rule.
Or at least have the courtesy to not talk to the guy while a pitch is coming. It was crazy.
What's next? Talking to a golfer in his backswing?
No, they're getting closer to that too, Brett. They're getting really close.
Well, I'll tell you.
Speaking of golf, I need a little credit for my Tony Finau pick.
You do.
Great pick.
It was a good pick. Very good pick.
I played for credit already twice now. My hockey picks and Tony Finau.
Hey, that's what the first segment's for on a Monday.
It's hard to pick winners, Brett. You deserve congratulations when you do it.
But those Sunday morning Peacock games, they try some out of the park ideas. I remember last year they had where the whole game there was no announcers at all. It was just Nat sounds.
I love that.
It was interesting.
That used to be an option on MLB TV.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, they tried it last year, and it was interesting.
What channel is the Peacock Network?
It's on an app, Brett.
You will not be getting it.
It's on the Peacock app. Yeah. And you don't even have Xfinity, which you get it for free if you have Xfinity. That's right.
Well,
okay, on the Peacock Network, do I get it when they put up the full Major League Baseball extra inning collage of games? Is it even up there in a little corner?
No,
it's exclusive.
It's like a national TV game,
and it's like the Apple TV Plus games, where you can only watch on Apple TV Plus.
That's the problem. But sometimes, like the FS1 and the national games, they're on the menu for all the games going at the same time, so you can like watch it like the Brady Bunch set. But then when you click on it, you can't get to it.
Oh, you actually might be able to watch it that way. However, it is the only game on at 11 o'clock every Sunday, so it might not be available at that time. I don't know.
It's interesting.
We'll have to look into it.
Yeah, we will. But that's the problem with baseball. I mean, there's too many Apple TV Plus, Peacock. I mean, there's so many of these streaming
I'll
service
never catch
games.
up.
No,
I'll never catch up with it all.
You will not, which is unfortunate because I know how much you love baseball. So you're just missing. Heck, Friday night the Cardinals game was the Apple TV Plus game.
No reason to tune into that.
That's a good point against the Dodgers. Maybe it was for better that you had to miss that game. But let me set up today's show before we get into top and not top story of the day. 3:30, we're going to talk about the Grizzlies. A lot to get to there with the season ending. They had their exit interviews yesterday, so we'll get into everything that was said there and that final game against the Lakers. 3:45, we'll make our picks for the Boston versus Philadelphia 76ers series that starts tonight. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us to talk some college football. We'll get his thoughts on the draft and then some storylines during spring ball. 4:30, like we said earlier, Tom Ackerman from KMOX will join us from St. Louis to talk about Mike Shannon and the St. Louis Cardinals team. 4:45, we'll do big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal will join us to talk about this season for the Memphis Grizzlies and what they might do going into the offseason. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap it up like we always do with Taco Bell Crunch Time. But we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. The Vacation at Home sale is going on right now at Family Leisure. So get over there for pools, spas, patio furniture, and even play gyms. The pools, they have the lowest prices in town, and get a free liner upgrade with pool purchases during this sale. The spas, they have a ton of in-stock spas, and those in-stock spas are up to $1,000 off. They have a huge showroom of in-stock patio furniture, so get over there, buy it today, and enjoy it tomorrow. And the play gyms are now on sale for $19.99. With the Vacation at Home sale, special financing is available. And mention this ad and receive half off installation only at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
This hour of our show is sponsored and brought to you every day by the great people at Lexus of Memphis, the only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway, and they're online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-334-9673. Great offers on all 2023 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2023 flagship LS500. You'll be looking great and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day is the NBA playoffs going on right now. The Grizzlies were knocked out last week, so they won't be in the second round. And I know not a lot of people are going to like to hear this, but I think it's going to be a good series between the Warriors and the Lakers. We obviously got to see firsthand what the Lakers could do with LeBron James, with a healthy Anthony Davis, and that supporting cast going up against the champs in Golden State. So I think that will be a very competitive series. We saw what Golden State was able to do to close out the Kings yesterday. Steph Curry with 50 points, an incredible showing from him. But you also got a lot of other very compelling series. We'll make our picks later for 76ers and Celtics, which I think could be a very good series. Miami won the first game yesterday against the Knicks, and then the Suns and Nuggets. The Nuggets made it look easy in Game 1 against the Suns. Tonight will be Game 2. We'll see if the Nuggets can repeat that Game 1 performance. But I still think, I know, we're all upset. It's kind of that day after, start the week. The Grizzlies are out. It's very sad here locally. But I still think it's going to be a great NBA playoffs to watch. And I think there's some very interesting storylines going into the second round.
My top story is 1 year ago today, May 1, 2022, it was Sunday afternoon. And it was the home game, Game 1, lost by the Grizzlies to Golden State. In a year, not a lot really changed, except an even earlier exit after another Game 1 loss in the first round in the playoffs. That was second round. This was first round. The biggest difference, well, it's been a year. That's it. We've lost the most valuable thing you can have, and that's time. Another lost opportunity. There's going to be a lot more, though. There's going to be a lot more with the Grizzlies. But these were two as a 2 seed that felt like it was wide open and they possibly could at least get to a Western Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals. And I and others talked openly about the real idea of them possibly winning it all. We know this for sure now. After this series is over, the honeymoon is also over for a lot of people. Not that they're on any hot seat, not that they should be subject to any undue criticism, but just hear no evil, see no evil. In the front office I trust, in Taylor Jenkins I trust, in some of the players I trust. That's no longer the case. We're going to get into thorough examination from this point over for Zach Kleiman, and particularly for Taylor Jenkins. He's 36 wins away next year from being the all-time winningest coach in Grizzlies history. The clock's not ticking for Ja, Jaren, and Desmond Bane, but they're not newbies anymore either. They're young. They're still young, but they're also veterans. Regular season will be a blast next year, but this team is already to a point where it will be defined by playoff success. This trio will be graded on advancement, and if they don't go far next year, there will be front office and coaching changes, and it should happen.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, we just talked, both of our big stories talked about the NBA playoffs, but I feel like I got to continue to wave the flag for the NHL playoffs because they've been incredibly fun to watch. And I'm not just saying that because the Kraken advanced to the second round with a Game 7 win over the Avalanche. But I'll be honest, at times the past couple of weeks, I've found myself casually watching the Stanley Cup playoffs more than the NBA playoffs. They're fun to watch. They're thrilling games between some really good teams. But yesterday, the Boston Bruins losing in overtime to the Florida Panthers after being up 3-1 is insane. This is a Bruins team that people were calling one of the greatest teams of all time and not able to get out of the first round. I'm telling you, tonight, Rangers versus Devils should be a great game. And if you're not watching the NHL playoffs, I think you should just try to tune in for a game or two, and it might sell you on it.
I would dare say I'm the only person outside of South Florida that had the Panthers over Boston.
Honestly, I think that's a good bet.
President's Cup winner, and I got it from Barry Melrose. Well, I really didn't, but I'm going to give him credit.
Give him credit.
President's Cup, that doesn't mean anything. What you did in the regular season, it's almost like the Grizzlies now going forward. You can have all these President Cup, all these 50-plus win seasons. You got to have that to have decent seeding, but you get defined by the playoffs, and I think I'm among the very few to have Seattle over Colorado and Toronto over Tampa Bay.
Brett, I remember when we made our picks, you said, I might be crazy for some of these first-round games I've picked. A lot of them played out in your favor.
If New York wins tonight, I'm 5-3 for the first round.
Wow.
It's group lock tonight. You'll be 4-4, and Jay Morgan will be 5-3 as well. Jay Morgan's losses have been Boston, Tampa Bay, and Colorado. My losses have been the Wild and Islanders and the Kings. So we'll see about tonight. My not top story, it's aggravating over the first round exit for the Grizzlies and Grizzlies fans. Well, we're all aggravated, and it is ripe around town that's the feeling. That's a good thing too, though. That shows growth. But this young core, it's better than the core 4 was. And there are a lot of cases in the NBA where you have to kind of wait your turn. Yes, the core 4 did go to the Western Conference Finals in its third playoff appearance. This group, in its third playoff appearance, was ousted in the first round by the Lakers. Mm-hmm. But this group is much younger than the core four, and I think just simply better than that group that we loved. But we know they advanced in the third year and got swept by the Spurs. But around the NBA, here are a couple examples. It didn't feel like it was ever going to work out for Dirk. It finally did. There was a time it didn't feel like Detroit would ever get past a couple different teams in the East, and Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, they did. And around other sports, Phil Mickelson was never going to win a major. He finally broke through and won a couple. Mm-hmm. There was a time that Tom Osborne couldn't win the big game, and then he retired with Nebraska winning everything. Philip Fulmer wasn't ever going to win it all at Tennessee. He did. Even Roy Williams at Kansas, he won't ever win it all. He didn't. Mm-hmm. At North Carolina, they were waiting, and he finally did. The next 6 to 8 years still have a lot of hope. Also, the fans in St. Louis that waited forever for the Blues to win.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to wait.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Have to at times, and we'll see. I mean, there's going to be a lot of talk this offseason, but we'll see what this front office does going into next year. That'll do it for top and not top story of the day.
And the NBA playoffs, they continue. Brett Norsworthy here for FanDuel. NBA playoffs, they're here, and you can turn crossovers into cash at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/Sports56. That's the promo code Sports56. That's very important right now, and place a $5 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Tonight, I love the Celtics minus the 9.5 on the parquet against Philadelphia, and I love the over in Suns Nuggets. That game tips at 9 o'clock. Great promotions every day, safe and secure app, and when you win, you get paid fast. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Just go to FanDuel.com/Sports56 and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA, must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the Grizzlies.
Listen in for the Showboat Showcase on Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Greg and Eli will talk with guests from the Memphis Showboats and give you a chance to win tickets to upcoming games.
Make your next grill your last with the Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on eating out, fuel costs, and replacing expensive grills that cannot stand up to the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with cook temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, Showtime. How many streaming services are you paying for? If only there was a way to track and cancel subscriptions easily. Well, there is. Just download the Rocket Money app. Rocket Money organizes your subscriptions by due date and notifies you when something is coming up. From there, decide whether to keep it or cancel it with just a tap in the app. To find out more about Rocket Money, go to rocketmoney.com/save or download the Rocket Money app from the Apple app or Google Play stores. Rocket Money, the money app that works for you.
The Showboats are back in Memphis.
We can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go. Get your seats now for this weekend's home game.
Here we go.
Be a part of the new era of pro football at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Tickets start at just $10, so bring the whole family. And don't miss the Showboats' exciting matchup.
It's a touchdown!
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 5 Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM, your Mid-South sports station.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time, and Friday night was a ugly way to finish the season for the Memphis Grizzlies. A 40-point loss on the road to the LA Lakers in a game that would have, if you won, brought it back to Memphis Sunday afternoon for a Game 7. But they just couldn't get it done. And I know me and my brother were talking during the game, and he made the point, this would be a lot different if the Lakers won this game by 2 or maybe a last-second shot, a close game. But this is just brutal to have to sit here and watch a 40-point loss by the Grizzlies. It definitely wasn't the way you wanted to end your season.
Yeah, your brother's right. They really did make us collectively, and the Grizzlies right there at Crypto, eat it. Mm-hmm. And now we have to eat it, own it all of the offseason. Does that mean we have to belabor it? Does that mean we just forget everything? I talked about amnesia earlier. Yeah. And we're going to get to it all. Yeah. And this year was so much fun, back-to-back twos. Mm-hmm. Last year, 56 wins. This year, 51 wins. A certifiable, preeminent, sellable, national superstar. Yeah, had trouble, well documented. I think we talked about it. Yeah. Everybody knows. I'm not breaking any new news to anybody about the Denver incident. The team at times looked very, very immature, leaderless. And that's where I want to start on the criticism front. Taylor Jenkins had a horrible series. Horrible series. He was outcoached thoroughly. I still don't think the Lakers were that much better. I will give them credit. To the victor go the spoils. Sure. They won. I said 4-1 Grizzlies, couldn't have been more wrong. I said I didn't think the Lakers were that good. Well, they were good enough to win the series 4-2. And I think a lot of that series goes back to game 1, or take your pick, the heartbreak overtime in the only competitive game played at Crypto. But Brian, I don't the kind of the criticism today of Dylan Brooks and around NBA circles. There's a lot of people really enjoying this. There's a lot of national talking heads or some local. There's a lot of people really having their fun at Dylan Brooks' expense. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. He ended up looking foolish. He did. He talked stuff that he didn't come close to backing up. But a lot of this goes to 52 points combined from Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura in that first game, and Rui Hachimura really didn't scratch from that point on. But if you want to be that critical of Dylan Brooks, I think it's fair. He asked for it. Yep. Some of it I think is over the top. The trade him, I never want to see him again in a Grizzlies uniform. Because I want to give you this is not my big number of the day, but it could have been, but I didn't want to save it that long. 5,002 points Dylan Brooks has scored as a Memphis Grizzly. That ranks 9th all time in Grizzlies history. Wow. Of most points scored. It's 8th of players in Memphis because Sharif Abdur-Rahim is 6th, and he did it all in Vancouver. Never played a down in Memphis. Mike Conley won over almost 12,000 points. Mark Gasol, close to 12,000, just barely behind Mike for second. Zach Randolph, Pau Gasol, Rudy Gay. Another one was criticized a lot like Dylan Brooks gets. Then Sharif Abdur-Rahim at 6, Mike Miller 7, John Moran 8, and Dylan Brooks at 5,002 points. Yeah, he shoots a lot. Yeah, he talks a lot. You just can go out and replace that easily?
No, not at all. And you know, I think we've talked about this a lot. I mean, what he brings defensively is so unmatched by anybody on this roster that he does so much defensively. And then offensively, like you said, I mean, he scores the ball. And I was looking at this earlier. I mean, I think the one of the biggest things about Dillon is that he shoots the ball too much. But this year, he took less shots than in more games, he took less shots than he has the last 3 seasons and still averaged 14 points a game during the regular season. I don't think as probably, I don't know where you would put Dillon, maybe the 3rd scoring option in the starting lineup. I don't think you can ask for anything less when the hate is he shoots the ball too much. Well, he's shooting the ball less and he's averaging double-digit points as probably your 3rd scorer. I think that's something that is you have to have on your roster. And so I think a lot of this is from this postseason. He talked too much. But I'm with you. I'm completely against the idea of let's trade him, let's banish him. I never want to see him in a Grizzlies jersey ever again.
It was complete overreaction. It is not far-fetched at all to say his offensive woes, and especially when he hits a schneid like he got on and stayed on and kept heaving shots. Yeah. But at some point, isn't that on the coach? Come set by me if you're going to keep shooting like that.
Yeah.
But it's not far-fetched to say his offense was not any worse than Ja Morant's defense.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. I mean, Ja Morant.
But you can't say that.
No, you can't say that. No. And
I just did.
Yeah, but I think you're right, and I should say re-sign Dillon Brooks next year because he's a free agent this year. But I think it's going to be interesting. But you're right. I mean, I think having him out there, even if he is missing shots, I think having him out there as a threat, taking shots and playing defense for you is way more valuable than a lot of other guys that would play that position if he did not re-sign next year and you had to put somebody else there. I just think his value to this team is so much more than people give him credit for.
And oh, by the way, in just not even an extreme case of trying to be fair, an extreme case might be walking across the Mojave. This case of being fair is walking a foot and a half.
Yeah.
They went into the game 6 with 3 out of their top 8 players on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we at least insert that in there somewhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a great point that I think a lot of people in the agony of defeat and the let's point fingers at what went wrong, it seems to not be brought up. And Jay Morgan brought this up to me off air earlier today that it's just so weird how you're missing probably your most valuable player on the roster in Steven Adams, and everyone wants to point fingers at Dillon Brooks. I mean, going into that series, especially against a healthy Anthony Davis, which I think a lot of people were surprised of how healthy he stayed throughout that series, it's going to be hard. I mean, you're almost going into that series with one hand tied behind your back when you don't have either Steven Adams or Brandon Clark.
You know how many times I've referenced it, how much I loved last year when Isaiah Thomas complimentary compared a young Ja and Desmond Bain to a young Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. I brought that up a lot. Well, you know what another big part of that Bad Boys Pistons team was? You know who they had inside as their enforcer? Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies missed that in these playoffs with Steven Adams. They missed it down, since January 31st, down the home stretch of the year with his absence. But that's another thing. Now, I've tried to be fair, and I'm going to continue to be. And I noticed yesterday in the getaway press conference, now they're talking about we hope that Steven Adams will be ready to go by opening night next year.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Y'all were telling us all of February this could be a any day thing. Then the stem cell, and it's going to be really soon. Maybe even, or for sure back by the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tell us what is wrong.
Yeah, no, that I did not like seeing that the not committal on he will be back by the start of the season of we hope he's back by the start of the season, and then the Brandon Clark is probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. I don't want to go into the start of next year without both of those guys. I mean that would be awful.
But is it worth spending money? I mean, it's a big question mark, obviously, and I think all your concerns that you guys just said are exactly right.
Yeah.
But that position in particular to replace it is expensive.
It is.
And are you going to spend that money on re-signing Dylan Brooks, or if both those guys are out to start the season, theoretically you can't go into a season with just 1.5, man. No. It's a big question.
Jay Morgan, not only is it expensive for high level at that position, it's expensive for average.
Yes, very.
Not even that long ago, but still in the modern NBA, when Kosta Koufos was a backup center for the Grizzlies, an excellent one, by the way, the Grizzlies could not afford to re-sign him because someone else was willing to pay a lot more for how valuable the backup center position is. So like you said, Brett, it's a very expensive thing to do, and hard to do that with re-signing Dylan Brooks if that's what you decide to do.
Yeah. And I want Jaren Jackson on my team. Over these next 6 to 8 years, I think the ship's going to come in for us here in Memphis. I think we will have a parade. We need some pieces. We need more than just laps around the track. This time last year, we thought we just needed a little seasoning. Might need more than just seasoning. Might need to have another big player around trade deadline. There just wasn't that many good deals out there that the Grizzlies could pull off. I know other teams did a lot of stuff, and that frustrates fans. But it's not that easy. I will give Zach Kleiman a lot of pass, a lot of credit for that, and I sure give him for what he's done here. But his honeymoon's over. But back to Jaren, except for Game 1, he wasn't very good in this series.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but in theory, not a lot of guys were very good this series for the Grizzlies. But you're right, and I think you need to see more, and that's. Again, that, age and kind of experience and getting those reps in a playoff settings could help that, but you'll just have to see. I think another interesting thing that I've seen, we've talked about the finger pointing to Dylan Brooks and kind of the question marks around some of the depth on this roster. I've seen a lot of people start, and it's so different from the regular season where everybody was touting how great he was, a lot of people now pointing fingers at Tyus Jones. And what do we, do you try to make a move with Tyus Jones and ship him somewhere? So I think kind of back to the Dylan Brooks thing, I think a lot of this is spur of the moment. After being, knocked out in the first round of the postseason, you're going to make accusations and things that are very negative.
Is that really? Have we not seen Tyus Jones's value, though, in the same way we saw
I've seen on
the
Twitter.
Value of Steven Adams?
Yeah.
Well, we have Jay Morgan, but also with this with Tyus Jones, one of my favorite sayings, Bryant, is water finds its level.
That's right.
And those reserves, oh man, that game in late January on the 27th of January, they can fill it up. They can really do it, and they can have those good fill-in moments, bridge moments for you. But they're reserved for a reason. When you ask a lot more run time from them, a long-time Cardinal fans will understand this example. For years, he famously became a great third base coach for the Cardinals, Jose Akendo. His nickname was the secret weapon. When they'd kind of have to plug and play him every 3 or 4 days, he was marvelous. Man, he was great. He hit a big home run in the postseason against the Giants. When they asked him to go out there and do it every day, he couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, and those reserves.
It was a reserve for a reason.
Yeah. And they didn't really show up in the postseason. And so I think depth is something you need to look at, especially at the wings. You need to add some depth there for sure.
But also not re-sign one of your incumbents.
No, I think you need to re-sign.
I know, but I'm just saying if that's what you're looking to add, the conversation should be moot then about whether or not you re-sign this great wing player you have, starting wing player in the league. And I also think there's an argument to be said, and I always make this comparison a lot.
Dual use of mute and moot there. You quieted it and you considered it off the table.
That's right. Both worked in the situation. But I would draw comparisons to the Denver Nuggets right now, playing their first postseason as a healthy unit under this roster construction, essentially flipped Monte Morris for Kendavius Caldwell-Pope, and have gone back for a 4th or 5th straight year with the same group in place. And I think that's a model that the Grizzlies should follow. Yeah. Your bench players grow and get older. And in fact, the Nuggets traded at the deadline, like almost selling, as it were.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So I think that's a great model for the Grizzlies to follow. If you're looking as a fan, what do you think they should do? We need to sign player X, or this splashy guy, or Dylan Brooks isn't doing it for me, or trade Tyus, we're fine with Ja. Yeah. I think look to the Nuggets model and rebuild in the exact same way. If you get Steven Adams back, this is a whole different series.
Oh, yeah.
I say reload with the same roster.
I do too, Jay Morgan.
Yeah.
I say run it back one more time, and see what you get out of it. No kidding, guys. If somebody did the fan on the street interviews and asked people, do you think Dylan Brooks is 9th leading scorer all time in Grizzlies history? What do you think the overwhelming response would be?
And absolutely
no.
Absolutely no.
He would have to make a shot to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He might lead in shot attempts, but definitely not made shots.
That's a good one.
The criticism of him it's very similar. The criticism Rudy gave once it was blistering. Around here, and it was ridiculous.
Absolutely, I thought about that the other day, Brad. It's a great comparison.
Yeah, but
because Rudy Gay was still playing, is still playing in the league right now.
Yeah.
Still
3 weeks ago.
Still has carved out a role here in this league, and I mean, people were so done with him by the time but he's changed a lot too, evolved as a player.
Yeah, but it's an interesting conversation for sure, and I know we'll talk a lot about this offseason and kind of what this front office does going into next season. We'll talk a little bit more about it later at 5 o'clock with DeMichael Cole. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we'll make our picks for the Boston Celtics Philadelphia 76ers series. That's next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Don't miss Clean Car Month now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get Superior Coverall Tire Shine 2 for $18. Get details at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, Showtime. How many streaming services are you paying for? If only there was a way to track and cancel subscriptions easily. Well, there is. Just download the Rocket Money app. Rocket Money organizes your subscriptions by due date and notifies you when something is coming up. From there, decide whether to keep it or cancel it with just a tap in the app. To find out more about Rocket Money, go to rocketmoney.com/save or download the Rocket Money app from the Apple app or Google Play stores. Rocket Money, the money app that works for you.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back in to Sports Time as we wrap up our first hour on this Monday, and we've got to make our picks for the Boston Celtics Philadelphia 76ers series. We made some picks Friday for a couple of the other series, but we got to make this one because it starts tonight. Brett, do you want to start with your pick?
Yeah, I'll get going. We're 14. We have 14 completed series, including the play-in games. And remember, I said those play to Boston and Philadelphia tonight. I think it's Boston. I think it's Boston 4-1, maybe 4-2.
Jay, why don't you go next?
I think the Boston Celtics are the best team in the National Basketball Association. I think they win this series.
I do too, but I don't think their coach matches it. And will that get them in the playoffs?
tell you what,
question.
as much as I like the Celtics and have liked them for a while, I sure would like to see Doc Rivers and the Sixers and Embiid, for that matter, knock them off.
Yeah. I'm also going to go with the Celtics. I think they have a golden opportunity here with the Bucks knocked out in the first round to make a real run, and so I think
don't
they get
sleep
past
on the Heat
76ers.
culture, Brian.
Well, I'm not sleeping on them because I was surprised what they did yesterday against the Knicks. So,
all right, both you guys, real quick, rank the 4 Eastern Conference coaches for me.
Ooh, yikes, Jay. I'm gonna have to lean on you to go first.
I'm going to go that's tough. Spoelstra.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
Tibbs. Doc.
Wow.
Mazzulla.
Same. Spro, Tibbs, Doc, Mazzulla.
Yeah, probably.
And I think it falls off a little Spro to Tibbs.
Yeah.
A little Tibbs to Doc, and then off the deep end to Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah. I thought about putting Doc in front of Tibbs, but I just like Doc.
Rank the West.
Who? Yikes.
I'll go.
Please.
Kerr.
Mm-hmm. Gotta be.
I'll go Kerr, Mike Malone, Monty Williams, and I'll just do by seniority. Darvin Ham has to be last.
Yeah.
Same. I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people like Monty
Darvin
Williams.
Ham had a great series,
I think
though.
I'd put
A lot of people
Williams
like
in
Monty
second.
Williams, though, but I'm not the biggest Monty Williams fan in the world.
Yeah.
Well, you just can't deny those championships at top for Kerr.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't. I mean, that's a clear-cut
and this
number one.
And this one, guys, we keep talking about. And can it be the same thing? Can it be Last Dance, but still your dynastic? Can we be in the middle of a Warrior dynasty, but yet it's ending?
I think it's like the Tom Brady career.
Yeah.
You know, you can predict the end, and if you do that, you'll be predicting it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's just well, I guess it's ended now, but
But it always seems like it's about
it's all it's never. You know, it seemed like it was going to end forever, and
Yeah.
it never did. That's how I approach the Warriors.
It's a good comparison.
You know who loves these 8 teams left remaining?
Who?
NBA.
Oh, absolutely.
And TV ratings.
Yeah.
All top 20 markets.
Great
LeBron Curry
Oh,
matchup
my gosh.
is incredibly compelling for a second round series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, New York, Los Angeles, Bay Area. I mean, this is perfect.
No, it really is, and that's why I said. I mean, I said in my top story. I mean, I think a lot of these series are going to be really good back and forth games, and like you said, great for TV with the markets they have for sure.
Great for TV, and in the year that it felt so wide open.
Yeah.
What if we got down to Golden State versus Boston?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Neither would I.
How wide open is that?
That's what I would have picked before the series started, before the playoffs started, though. But you never know. I guess you didn't think the Bucks would lose in the first round. Everyone's kind of one injury away at that point in time, and then that changes the matchup completely. So you really just never know.
That's a good point.
Denver about the best underdog city story?
Yeah, probably.
I was going to say Denver and Phoenix kind of changes the landscape with all these giant markets, but those are big markets too. They have multiple sports teams.
Phoenix never won it. Denver never been in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, there's not when you talk about kind of small marketville. I'm saying there's no small markets.
We were thinking maybe a Smallville final this year.
Yeah, but quickly that was outed.
Milwaukee,
I realized, Jay,
Memphis.
I just talked to you while you said something not into your mic.
Happens all the time.
But yeah, I mean, it very easily could have been Milwaukee, Memphis, and that would have been easily Smallville.
And for teams that have won it in the 21st century, we're down. You know, Boston's won it in the 21st century. The Lakers have won it 6 times in the 21st century. Miami's won it 3 times, and Golden State 4 times.
Yeah.
So how different is it?
Not very different.
And if my math is correct here, it seems like if the Rangers win tonight, they'll be the only team New York teams, that is, to have shared arena in the playoffs left.
Oh, wow.
Because the Kings and the Lakers, but the Kings are eliminated.
Boston.
Florida and Miami don't play in the same arena. Boston's eliminated.
I didn't realize the Panthers and the Heat didn't share arenas.
No, the Panthers
last week.
Panthers play in the suburbs in Broward County up north, so they don't play in the same arena.
That's crazy.
Whatever Sunrise, Florida is.
Yeah, Sunrise, Florida. I think it's just one of those. It's just a very suburban area as far as I can understand.
Interesting.
It sounds very toady.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Come watch the sunrise in Sunrise.
Sunrise in Sunrise. It's a lot of retirement homes in Sunrise, I'm sure.
Yeah, they all eat dinner at 5:30.
Yeah,
like me.
And Jay Morgan eats at like 4:30.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In the hockey of the teams remaining, Florida's never won it. Vegas has never won it. Seattle's never won it. You got to go to 1967 for Toronto, 1994 for the Rangers, 2003 for the Devils, 06 for Carolina, 99 for Dallas, and 1990 for Edmonton. You can still have a Canadian winner. We can still have an all-Canadian Stanley Cup Finals, and that hadn't happened since 1989 when Calgary beat Montreal.
Not if the New York Rangers have anything to say about it.
That's right. And that starts tonight with Game 7. Yeah. Rangers Devils. Jay, how many times have you bet on the Rangers this series?
I don't want to talk about it.
A lot on the line tonight.
Hey, Jay Morgan, double up and catch up tonight. That's a great gambling strategy.
Maybe double up.
We're looking at double up in the rearview mirror right now.
Well, I'll do it for our first hour. Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us to talk some college football. That's next.
Are you looking to lease a commercial space for your business? Call Stephen Hoffman. Are you a landlord looking to have your space leased? Call Stephen Hoffman. Maybe you're looking to buy or sell commercial real estate. If so, you want a professional broker looking out for your best interest, and that broker is Stephen Hoffman with Myers Commercial Real Estate. Stephen is a Memphis native who knows his market well and only works the commercial side of real estate. He works for a great firm that has been locally owned and operated in Memphis for almost 40 years. Whether representing tenants, landlords, or investors alike, you are sure to get great market analysis, access to on and off market listings, and a tough negotiator on your behalf. Call 901-761-5595 and ask for Stephen Hoffman. You can also find him on the web at MyersCRE.com. That's MYERSCRE.com. Stephen Hoffman with Myers Commercial Real Estate. Representing your real estate business is his business. Call Stephen Hoffman, 901-761-5595.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist and ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Take hiring to a higher level. Indeed's powerful hiring platform helps attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resume on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Chris Price, it's so good to see you. And you have a new business?
Yes, Dave. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Have you noticed water stains on your ceiling? With storm season here, take a walk around your home or business and look up. Make sure there are no water stains signaling a leak prior to the heavy storms coming in. If you do see signs of water, call me. My team and I will come out, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a fix. Our team of Hague-certified inspectors are waiting to assist with any inspection or repairs you may need. We have 3 crews dedicated to repairing roofs in the Mid-South. As certified Owens Corning and Mule High dealers, we offer 20-year, no-dollar limit labor and material warranties that offer hassle-free ownership. That's our hassle-free ownership guarantee. Allow Metro Builders team of professionals to assist you in maintaining your property's integrity and value. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Your local commercial roof experts. Ask about our commercial roof maintenance agreements. Protect your investment with MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. 375-1717.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South sports station.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253 DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Oh, yeah.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant Dacus, Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder with you. And joining us now, like he does every Monday afternoon, David Cobb from CBS Sports joins us to talk some college football. David, thanks for joining us as always. And I'm just curious, is going into the NFL draft every year and just drafting Georgia defensive players a good strategy for the draft? Because that seems to be what the Eagles have done the past 2 years.
Wow, yeah, that was insane the other night. It's almost like something you would do on Madden.
Yeah.
If you were a Georgia fan, you would just go out and do a bunch of trades and draft picks and load your roster with former Georgia players. Insane, though, to see them do that consecutive years now. We'll see if it pays off. I mean, there was just a little bit missing, right, from that Eagles defense in terms of them getting over the hump and winning the Super Bowl. So, hey, why not double down on – they essentially have the best players from the most dominant college football defense of my life.
Crazy.
So it's not a bad strategy. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's a move, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Dave, but Alabama had more players drafted from Alabama than Georgia did, right?
Yeah, I think they did narrowly. So Georgia had, I think it was 10 this year versus the 15 they had last year, or 8 or maybe it was only 8 or 9. But yeah, Alabama edged them out. So Alabama actually did have more NFL talent in this class.
And I tread very, very lightly when I say this, but I said it softly last year. That was the least best coaching job Nick Saban's ever had last year.
Yeah, and the draft thing kind of shows it too. When you've got that much talent that goes to the NFL, and you don't win a title with it.
Now he lost 2 games at the Horn.
Well, they did. I mean, that's the thing is the margin for error is so slim. But you flash back to that Alabama season last year, and you can talk about how they did lose some close games, but they were undisciplined in ways that you don't typically expect of Alabama teams. A lot of special teams miscues, a lot more penalties than we're used to from Alabama. And I think that the cumulative effect of those issues led to them losing games. And so, yeah, obviously, they lost a couple of really close ones, a couple of real heartbreakers, but that wasn't Alabama at its best. That was not a well-oiled Alabama machine that just caught a couple of unlucky breaks. There was something there that just wasn't quite up to the standard of that program, and now you've got an excess of talent, you've got 2 new coordinators, you've got a lot of uncertainty at quarterback, and you still have Nick Saban, which is why when you asked me last week, would I go over or under 2.5 losses for Alabama this season? I still went under 2.5 losses. I don't see any way that even after all they've lost and how substandard they were last year, I don't see how they do any worse than 10-2, because I do still believe in Nick Saban, even though he's got a lot of questions to answer.
That was a team I thought last year was closer to being 9-4 than they were to being 13-0 and really firmly in the playoff mix. I thought in the preseason, I had it in the preseason that Tennessee would win at Neyland Stadium, because after being there for the Tennessee heartbreaking loss from their point of view against Ole Miss the year before, I felt like Tennessee was coming, and and I think now that they are here. We know Georgia's here. Is there any doubt that Kirby Smart right now in Georgia, they're the top of the sport?
I was thinking about that today. Not really sure how my mind wandered to dynasties in college football on a Monday afternoon in April, but that's just the way people like us think, I guess. And oh, by the way, it was 10-10. Alabama 10 draft picks, Georgia 10 draft picks. So they're even in that regard. But if you go back and look over the last 2 years, certainly Georgia has the edge because they had 15 last season. So, the SEC in college football run through Athens, Georgia now. I don't think there's any question about that. And if Nick Saban and Alabama do not win the national title in 2023-24, this next season, it will be the longest title drought of Nick Saban's career at Alabama. And that is a direct byproduct of Georgia.
You think Grizzly fans are mad?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, what does it look like if they don't? Is it a playoff team that doesn't, or is it a non-playoff team that doesn't? And then I think where you really start to see the wheels fall off at Alabama is if a third consecutive non-title season is followed with something like 9-4 or 8-5. At that point, you will see the Alabama fan base disintegrate and into something we have not seen in the social media era. Alabama has been excellent. They've been at the top of college football for the entirety of Twitter's existence.
Yeah.
And I have a theory that for all the flack Tennessee fans rightfully get, and that fan bases of other teams sometimes rightfully get for their antics, I think what we'll see when the Alabama dynasty finally does crumble from the Alabama fans will be monumental. It will be a tsunami wave of despair from that fan base, unlike anything that we have seen from any fan base at any time, because they've been so accustomed to being elite for 15 years. And we're looking at so much uncertainty now with a legendary coach now into his 70s with no clear-cut starting quarterback and two new coordinators coming off of two straight non-title seasons. So I don't think that Alabama's about to fall off a cliff, but I think they're fighting to stay on top of that cliff, and there's no guarantee they do.
David, I feel sorry for some poor, unsuspecting bowl executive director that thinks, look, I'm getting Alabama at 8-4. Nobody's showing.
Nobody's showing. I bet the ratings would still do well. People would tune in just to see Alabama.
Oh yeah, because that brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and there's you bring in the factor of like, wow, Alabama's only in the Capital One Bowl or something. Like, that's funny. Let's tune in and watch that. But yeah, it's going to be. I don't know. It's one of those conversations that we'll have. It's like, well, is it bad for college football that Alabama's starting to slip? I think ultimately it's just a replacement in some ways. Georgia replacing Alabama. I mean, that feels like what we're marching toward, and that we've already had the first steps toward over the last couple of seasons. And it's just one huge SEC brand kind of taking a step and lapping another one. And, I still don't think Alabama falls all that far. I still think it's going to be, because of the NIL situation, because of the history, whenever that job comes open next, it will be, unlike anything. I'm trying to, what's a good recent comparison to the Alabama job coming open? I mean, you could say USC or
the presidency.
Yeah, exactly. USC and Texas have come open numerous times.
Getting to go to Camp David and fly on Air Force One, and they play you a song every time you enter a room.
Right. So I still think Alabama keeps a seat of prominence at the college football table for at least a decade. They would have to pile up some substandard, maybe even some sub 500 seasons before their overall relevance ever started to wane.
Comparing it to the presidency at Bama, they even give the great ones like presidential libraries, like the Bryant Museum and Library, and Nick Saban's going to have one too.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, you won't be able to drive on that campus in 15 years without seeing the Saban this, the Saban that, the Saban statue.
They should rename McFarland Boulevard Avenue for him.
No doubt. He's the greatest college football coach of all time. I really do believe that at this point. And I think most Alabama fans say it, because number 2 is Bear Bryant. And they're both made their legend at Alabama. I don't think there's, obviously Saban won a natty at LSU, and the Bear was great at Kentucky, and he was at A&M too, wasn't he?
And Maryland.
Yeah, so, but at the end of the day, like, the two greatest college football coaches of all time are most closely associated with Alabama. And, somebody else is going to want to throw their hat into that ring and try to become the third Alabama great coach whenever that job comes open.
David, every year at SEC Media Days, you know how it goes. You're on a lot of different shows, three or four a day, and doing yours, and you're trying to have a fresh take for stuff. What I do every year I don't want to give away any trade secrets, but I like kind of to get my talking points down for whatever show I'm on. I know it might change if you're on in Monroe, Louisiana. They want a little more LSU, or if you're in Baton Rouge, but kind of the broad outline, I kind of like to have my talking points down, and I'm going to bring this up as one of mine. We talk Mount Rushmore. We talk top four ever in SEC football coaches. Well, everybody's got Saban and Brian on it. I don't think anybody could have a list and not have those two on it. Then it gets pretty fun. I have General Neyland on mine, and I have, yes, ahead of Steve Spurrier, I have Urban Meyer. Now, I know most have Spurrier because he had all the media in his hip pocket, and they all loved him so much, and it was so innovative. But I also like simple math that I learned about in first grade of the Far City Public School System. 2 beats 1. Urban won it twice. Spurrier won it once, but whatever. Kirby win it all this year. Who does he knock out?
Oh, wow. That I didn't know where you were going with that, and that's interesting because he has to be in the conversation.
He's there.
If he three-peats, I mean, that's wow. That puts him in rarefied
Who
air.
tells General Neyland? I mean, because he ran an army.
yeah, and he was at Tennessee over 3 different stints. I think Smart still has to sustain it for a little bit longer because I think even if they were to three-peat, if there were some horrific crash and burn that came afterwards in terms of them just getting into trouble or him having an off-the-field controversy, a personal issue or something like that.
Still would have 3 straight.
Could still, in the end, though, I think, I don't think Kirby Smart's legacy is cemented or safe. Like, we are, still 20 years away potentially from the book being written on Kirby Smart's college football coaching career. And, I don't think he's going to, but that's a lot of time for him to mess up. I mean, let's just be real. We see it in college sports all the time. We've seen it with Urban Meyer, who you mentioned, the just unraveling of sorts from a personal perspective, from a managing an organization that big standpoint. So, I mean, yeah, he's in the conversation for SEC Mount Rushmore of coaches, but on probation, I would say, until he gets out of the woods in terms of
what are you going probation for now?
It's a probationary
not managing
period.
APR correctly?
He's a contingent member of the SEC coaches Mount Rushmore, not a card carrying member, just a contingent member.
Love it. David Cobb from CBS Sports is with us every Monday. And I don't think we got to this with you last week, but DJU, who just transferred from Clemson to Oregon State last week, I think it was The Athletic he did an interview with last week where they asked him about his time at Clemson in that Clemson offense. And he basically said that he didn't like the schemes they were running, and he didn't think that they put him in a good position to develop him into an NFL quarterback, and that's why he decided to transfer to a school like Oregon State that would value him and in their offense and develop him. Do you think that's what happened last year at Clemson, or do you think this was just DJU couldn't step up to what was asked of him?
Well, I think the real reason DJU is transferring is because he got beat out by Cade Klubnik, and he wasn't going to be the starting quarterback anymore.
Yeah,
I think that's the reason why he transferred, because Trevor Lawrence seemed to make it work in terms of making himself an appealing draft prospect in that system. Deshaun Watson, say what you will about the guy, but he came through a very similar Clemson system with the same head coach and became a high-level NFL quarterback. So I don't buy it. I think I do. Here's what I do believe. I do believe it that the relationship had run its course with DJU and with Clemson, and that he probably needed a fresh start. And I think he probably does feel like the Oregon State system fits his skill set better. I mean, let's not sit here and pretend as though the Clemson offense has been some innovative machine over the last few years. I mean, they're getting an overhaul this year by bringing in a new coordinator, and it is much needed. So I don't blame DJU for being a little bit fatigued of that system, but like to sit here and claim that it wouldn't prepare them for the NFL is inaccurate when you look at their track record of producing NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, David Cobb with us from CBS Sports, talking all things college football and college basketball. And David, before he went to CBS Sports, was the Commercial Appeal beat writer, the predecessor to DeMichael Cole that we'll have about 5 o'clock with us. He was the beat writer for the Commercial Appeal covering the Grizzlies and was there when Taylor Jenkins was hired, even though ESPN was slow to recognize it on their page of the roster as the head coach of the Grizzlies. It was finally recognized as Taylor Jenkins. And so you know this team well. You were there at the beginning for this age of Grizzlies teams. What did you think, David? And I'm going to draw a comparison to what you now cover with college basketball in our market to the Tigers. What did you think of this Grizzlies exit? And of the two exits this year, Tigers in Columbus losing to FAU and Grizzlies in the first round losing by 40, of the two, what was the worst exit?
Well, I think I go Grizzlies because at the end of the day, Memphis' loss in the NCAA tournament was a devastating loss, but you understand that in the NCAA tournament, anything can happen on a given night, and that upsets occur, bad breaks occur, and that's just part of it. And it's profoundly disappointing that Memphis lost in the NCAA tournament in the first round. But I think the Grizzlies' ending was worse because they were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they talked so much about how they were, they talked as if they had arrived. And then it turns out very, very evidently that they, in fact, have not arrived. And I think the nature of the way they lost, especially the elimination game in Game 6, that was brutal. Like, that was tough to watch. I mean, they just got it handed to them by Anthony Davis in particular and the Lakers. And so I go Grizzlies because this was supposed to be the year where you took another step. They didn't. They regressed. They took a step backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they won.
The Tigers did as well because they advanced further last year, and I'm going to respectfully disagree. I thought the Tiger exit was worse than the Grizzlies for this reason. The Tigers haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 2009. The Grizzlies have been to a Western Conference Finals since then, but it was not this makeup of this team, and they did advance past that last year. The young Grizzlies core, I think, is more dependable going forward, and the nature of pro sports also kind of lends itself to that. But now we don't even know what the Tiger starting lineup is going to be next year, and when are you going to ever have a route that direct to at least the Sweet 16, if not the Elite 8 again?
No, you're right. Like you're not wrong. But the way I feel about the Grizzlies is, we think everything is going to be fine. Like Ja, Bane, Jaren, right? Like that's what it's centered around. But man, I have a lot of questions about the other pieces on that Grizzlies roster right now. I mean, they just did not have the size, and I know some of that was due to Brandon Clark and Steven Adams being out. But even in addition to the injuries, it just felt like once they moved off of DeAnthony Melton and Kyle Anderson, the depth pieces and the overall capability of the rotation just plummeted. I mean, Roddy had his moments, but Zaire Williams took a huge step back. LaRavia clearly still needs more time. Kennedy Chandler, who they seemed invested in, is no longer on the roster. It just felt to me like the supporting cast was woefully inadequate for the Grizzlies this year. And now that you're starting to have to pay Ja and Jaren and Bane's day is coming too, like how do you fill out a roster around those three to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
And, Kleiman's track record is still excellent at this point, but I don't think this past season was his best work. And he needs to do a little bit more to reinstill that faith, that in Kleiman we trust motto and mantra that he developed. And with some of the off-court stuff mixed in between the talk and between Jaws off-the-court stuff, like it just feels more uncertain to me now, like the Grizzlies' future does, than it did this time last year, which is like, to me, worst-case scenario. Like, we talk about how young this core is and how, like, bright the future is, but, Jaren's been in the league for, 4 years now. Ja's not a young guy anymore. I mean, he's still in his early to mid-20s, but the clock starts to tick at some point. Go ask the Thunder when they had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, right? Like, how many titles
Great
did they
point.
think they were going to win?
Great point. And Serge Ibaka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it never happened. and so that's just what like worries me a little bit about the Grizzlies. But I mean, I'm not like throwing in the towel on the Grizzlies. It just felt to me like a step back both off the court and on the court. And when you have both those things going simultaneously, to me that sends up some red flags.
Yeah, David. Speaking of the Tigers, Penny Hardaway needed to fill a hole with Frank Haith's departure to Texas, and he filled that last week with the addition of Rick Stansbury. What did you think of that move?
Yeah, I think it shows maturity on Penny's part whenever he goes out and hires another former head coach. Because in the beginning, this was supposed to compete with the G League Ignite. We had Mike Miller, and then Rasheed Wallace came on board, and Larry Brown was a part of that staff, and Cody Toppert came from the Suns and whatnot. Like, that was the model of
Sam Mitchell
program. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Sam Mitchell, another one. The former NBA guys were going to be the guys on his staff, and I think Penny realized that to win in college basketball, you need a little bit of a different approach in terms of the guys who actually know and understand college basketball, both on the court and the sort of underbelly of it all in terms of recruiting and whatnot. So Stansbury's in the twilight of his career, but he's been a good head coach at a couple of places, and he can help Penny out. I think more than anything, probably schematically.
Yeah.
Not that Penny's a spring chicken at this point. The guy's been a successful college basketball coach for a handful of years now, but you want to give somebody like Rick Stansbury, who's been in the SEC and been a head coach for probably a quarter decade or a quarter century. That's a good hire. That's a smart hire. It's a safe hire. It's probably not a long-term hire, but it's one that should help him next season.
Do you think the hire of Rick Stansbury does anything with the recruitment of Jamarian Sharp? I know he committed to Ole Miss last week, but I think that's a name a lot of people have circled with his relationship with Rick Stansbury.
Yeah, you would think, but I wonder now, like, it's not like Ole Miss is going to let him go.
Exactly.
It's also interesting, isn't it? Last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Bryant, but Memphis had a transfer commitment from, was it the Boise State guy?
Yeah, Manuel Acott, yeah.
And he ended up going to Western Kentucky.
After like 2 months, of being committed, yeah.
That's odd. Like, you would have thought there would be some bad blood there between Penny and the Western Kentucky staff over that, but apparently not, because Penny just hired Rick Stansbury. So you never know. I mean, maybe Sharp comes over. They do need a rim protector. Musa Cisse is still out there as well, and I have seen some smoke around that possibility. Who knows if that comes to fruition? But either of those guys would be a tremendous pickup for Memphis, and they've got to fill out this roster. Like, there's some holes.
David, I love that you went all the smoke.
Well, I mean, isn't that crazy, right? Like Penny has no problem like squashing beef with guys if he thinks they're going to help him. Apparently.
I don't think you should in this time. You mentioned the bad blood potentially over Acott last year. I don't think you can have bad blood in this era. And even a player that leaves you and he's back in 2 years, welcome back.
Yeah, exactly right. And there was some smoke around DJ Jeffries maybe wanting to come back last year too.
Yeah.
He ends up staying in Mississippi State with Chris Jans. I think it's a good hire by Penny Hardaway. Rick Stansbury's been around. He knows college basketball. Memphis needs that going into next season. They're going to be reloading. They're going to be mixing together a batch of players that haven't played together, that don't know whatever the scheme or system is going to be. So to have somebody who's done it for that long at a pretty high level is going to help them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love the hire by Coach Hardaway for sure. But, David, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you again next Monday.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, David. David Cobb from CBS Sports. He joins us every week to talk college basketball and college football. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, Tom Ackerman from KMOX will join us to talk about Mike Shannon and the St. Louis Cardinals. That's next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
There are a lot of people that love the weather this time of year. The abundant sunshine, the blooming flowers. It's all really, really nice for some people. And then there's those of us that think this time of year is the perfect time to be inside a nice, cool bar like Bell Tavern. Well, not like Bell Tavern, actually Bell Tavern. This downtown staple is the place to be to catch a game, have a signature cocktail, and some of the best bar food anywhere. Let those shiny, happy people get out there and bite the green line. You come join us in the comfortable confines of Memphis's best bar, Bell Tavern.
A lot of new enrollments, huh? Braylon, Brayden...
Monique's daycare is crawling with new arrivals.
Hey, sweetie, are you hungry?
She needs more early childhood educators.
Did your sock slip off again?
And a nap.
Hey there, little guy. Okay. Shh. Whoa.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot, which means it's time to get your outdoor spaces ready so you can enjoy more this season. Right now, you can get the Stylewell Park Point 4-piece patio set at a new lower price of $3.99. With its stain-resistant cushions and modern relaxed styling, it's the perfect centerpiece for your porch, deck, or patio, whether you're looking for sunny lounging or evening gathering. Hurry into the Home Depot to get the Stylewell Park Point patio set at a new lower price, just $3.99. Shop Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Now that the warmer weather has arrived, let Choate's perform their $99 20-point AC tune-up to get your AC ready for the hot summer months ahead. Also, Choate's is offering our half-off 1 pound of Freon coupon on our website for you to use. Does your HVAC system need to be replaced? If so, right now is an excellent time to take advantage of Carrier's 60 months no-interest financing on select systems. Want to improve your indoor air quality? Choate's is also offering our new ABCO air purifier for $100 off when you get your air ducts cleaned. UV technology sterilizes biological contaminants and neutralizes odors and toxic VOCs. Match that technology with getting your air ducts cleaned, and you'll have the indoor air quality your family needs. Better call 347-8086 today. These specials won't last long. Turn to the experts with Choate's and let our family serve your family.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 120 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats to watch the playoff games and to watch all the basketball. It's so easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk, chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
3-2 delivery. On its way. Swing and a high drive to center field. Get up, baby. Get up, baby. Get up. Oh, yeah. David Freese has just sent us into game number 7. This series is tied 3-3 with a walk-off home run here in the bottom of the 11th inning. The Cardinals win it 10-9. Unbelievable.
Just a great call from Mike Shannon. Back in 2011, the World Series against the Texas Rangers. And joining us now from KMOX, Tom Ackerman. Tom, thanks for joining us. I know yesterday a very sad day for y'all at KMOX and in St. Louis. But going back over the past 50 years of calls from Mike Shannon, that was just one of the great calls from the great Mike Shannon.
That is one of the great calls, and hello, great to be on with you guys. And there's no doubt about it that the last 24 hours, while it's been very sad, hearing these calls, hearing people call in and tell stories about Mike, and then starting to reflect on Mike's life and then us relaying stories about him, the more and more we put those out there, the more I feel better actually thinking about the great life that he lived. And then I start thinking, you know what? And Mike Claiborne said this to me this morning. Mike would not want us to be mourning. He would want us to be having a good time. And that's what he was all about. And so we will do that. We're going to have a good time this week celebrating his life, although we miss him a lot.
No kidding, Tom. It has been something, and y'all have handled it so well as you do everything from the breaking news of yesterday morning to you immediately jumping on the air after hosting sports on a Sunday morning and jumping on the air and carrying it all the way up to the pregame show in Los Angeles with the announced team and then them out there. And I thought it ironic that they had the interview with Charlie Steiner with the Dodgers, because I know in this we don't like to play favorites because we leave someone out, don't hurt anybody's feelings. But of all the guests that Mike Shannon and Mike Claiborne would have on at Live at Shannon's, I think Charlie Steiner or Mike Krukow with the Giants was Mike Shannon's favorites.
I don't think there's any doubt. There's a whole bunch that graced those tables inside Mike Shannon's, whether it was the old location or the new location. And one thing that Mike did really well throughout his career was develop relationships. And he had immense respect for the people that were in the game, whether you were a player, manager, broadcaster, etc. And he really got to know the other broadcasters, the other managers. And he was more than a Cardinals broadcaster. He really was a baseball man. He loved Major League Baseball and the people in it. And you're absolutely right. I thought it was appropriate to have those voices because it is nice to be able to hear what others say about your favorites. And Mike Shannon was an icon and remains an icon in this town, and beyond. Because, as you know, a lot of people in Memphis are talking about him today. A lot of people in Arkansas are talking about him today. A lot of people in Iowa are talking about him. This is Cardinal Nation, and he was one of the biggest names that the Cardinals have ever had.
And Joe Buck this morning, along with Bob Costas and so many others. But Joe Buck didn't mince any words. He gave the respect, naturally, to his dad, the Hall of Fame broadcaster that he was, and Joe Buck's closeness with his dad, nothing like it. But he gave a lot of credit to Mike Shannon for making him the broadcaster that he is.
He sure did, and he also touched on, the up and down relationships sometimes that Mike and Jack would have. If you think about, how much time they spent together, like a married couple, it is the reality of the broadcast booth sometimes, and Joe was the first to bring that up, and rightfully so. It's Joe Buck talking about his dad and about Mike and how the two of them worked together and how Mike taught everybody so many things, including Joe, and they became very close as well and did a lot of games together. And I was just talking to some people at our station about a whole other subject, and that is the final year of Mike's career and how the broadcast booth helped him through. If you think about what Mike was always about, Claves said it this morning and he said it yesterday, that it was always about the team. It was always about the broadcast team. What could they do as a group? And he always gave credit to everybody else and never took any. He made sure that you got some and that you got some and that you felt like you were part of this team. It was always about the group to Mike Shannon. Isn't it something that in his final year, when he was still recovering from COVID and was dealing with a variety of health issues, that it was the team who got him through, that it was the team of John Rooney and Ricky Horton and Mike Claiborne and Jim Jackson and booth assistant Michael Langston who helped him get through a very difficult time.
Yeah. Well, Tom, you talked about kind of this morning and yesterday kind of telling all these stories and remembering all the good stories of Mike Shannon. What's your favorite story of Mike Shannon working with him and being around him?
My favorite story to tell, there's so many because I had so much fun with him, but this one hits me closest, and that is that it really comes down to family for him. And I always looked up to him in that way as a dad and as a grandpa. and he loved his kids and his grandchildren so much that this one stays with me, is that I was at the ballpark in Jupiter, and I was standing outside the clubhouse, and Mike walks out, and he's got his black jacket on and his black pants, and he's walking along. He goes, "Hey," he said, "Tommy, let's go to lunch." And I said, "Mike, oh my gosh, I'd love to, but I'm waiting. Angie and the girls are going to be here any minute." And he goes, "Well, bring them. Let's go." So he said, "I'll meet you over at Rooney's." Rooney's was not John Rooney, but Rooney's was an Irish bar / restaurant right by the ballpark. And when I told Angie, I said, so she pulled up. I said, "Hey, we're going to go to lunch with Mike Shannon." She's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." So she parked, and we walk over there with the girls, and Mike and Claves are sitting at the table waiting for us with 4 placemats waiting for us, 4 spots. And we sat down, and my girls were really young at the time, and boy, did he lock in on them. He sat there, and he asked them questions and asked them about school and asked them about their favorite things and, watched them color. And he was just into everything they were doing at the table. Yeah. And it was so neat to watch him in that way. And it felt very special. And for me, and he said, so I was sports director at KMOX, which I still am. And, I was sort of in my younger years of being sports director, and he turned to one of my girls and he said, "Do you know your dad is my boss?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm not his boss." And he looked, he goes, "Well, we have a lot of bosses, don't we?" And it was just like we all sat there, and I'm like, this is surreal. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it was just awesome. That's one of my favorites.
He was so fun loving. You'd go to the ballpark, and in the press box you could go in. And Tom, at times, it was almost like Animal House in the KMOX broadcast booth. You'd walk in, and Mike Shannon would have a preseason football game on one channel and the track channel on another channel, and he's doing his lineup card and getting ready for the broadcast that night, and he would welcome everyone. I'll never forget, I was there for an Oakland A's series, and he introduces me to Ray Fosse, famous for Pete Rose, bounding into in the All-Star game in Cincinnati when Ray Fosse was with Cleveland, but became a legend. And now the late Ray Fosse became a legend. And he really did that fraternity of broadcasters, media. He treated them all like they were Harry Carey or Jack Buck.
Everybody wanted to meet Mike Shannon and get to know him too. And he just had that presence about him when he walked in the door. Even if you didn't know who he was, you could tell he was somebody, A, important, and B, that everybody wanted to be around. And that's a great quality. And there's no question that his booth, when he would have guests in, was incredible. And once you were in there, you were part of the family, and he would introduce you to everybody that was in there and make sure that you got talking. The old Busch Stadium 2, the booth had a row or 2 rows behind the broadcasters that was kind of almost like a little gallery. Like you could sit in there and eat popcorn and hot dogs and watch the guys do the game, and they would bring in some of their biggest clients to sit in these seats. The new Busch Stadium 3, is, I believe, still the largest home radio booth in Major League Baseball. It is a big room with in the back of the room, it's elevated from where the actual broadcasters sit. You have to walk up a little bit of stairs to get to this elevated area, and then there's food and drink catered and a big table you can sit around and a couch. And people would come in and visit, and he'd occasionally have his family hanging out back there. And he would finish his inning. He'd come back, all right, let's go. What's going on back here? And would talk to everybody. And he'd have, like you said, he'd have a TV on the game. He'd have a TV on the races. I actually thought about him because the Kentucky Derby is this Saturday.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought,
he loved it.
He would make sure he had all that going on, and oh man, just so much fun. I remember at the end of spring training one year, the Florida Derby was going on outside of Miami, and I told him I was going. And he said, "You're going?" He goes, all right, I need you to watch this horse. This horse. I want you, and he didn't forget. So when he saw me the next time, he said, how do you look? How's this one look, this one? You know, he wanted to know.
Love it.
That's big info getting ready for the Derby.
Scouting, as always. I mean, that's the way to do it. But you kind of talk about him in that family aspect, and kind of just the St. Louis Cardinals in general have that kind of family feel to it. Everyone, once you're a Cardinal, you're always a Cardinal. So I'm sure a tough day for the whole team in general. Is there any plans on honoring him in the next couple of weeks at a game or with a patch or anything for the Cardinals?
I haven't seen anything officially yet, except I do know that tomorrow they will hold a moment of silence for Mike before the game against the Angels. That is for sure. Beyond that, I don't see anything just yet, but I'm sure we'll get more information once we get into tomorrow, the beginning of the homestand. We also have a fan base that is not gathered yet since this announcement was made yesterday of his passing. So once people start to head down to Busch Stadium tomorrow, I do wonder if some things will begin organically, perhaps a memorial, or maybe there'll be a place for people to gather and set some memorabilia or just be able to talk about him. I'm sure that our news stations will be out and interviewing fans, and there'll be a lot of that going on. And then, you know, as we get closer to the ball game, if the Cardinals will announce more, I've not heard of any services or anything like that. But again, you know, we're still early in the week, and he has an unbelievable place in this organization's history, but even more so, you know, it's very rare. There's only a few of them that grew up in St. Louis or the surrounding area and won a world championship. And that's what makes it even more special, is Mike's a hometown kid.
And as he would say, hit a World Series home run off Whitey Ford. That counts double.
I know. Hit a home run in all three of the World Series that he played, 64, 67, 68. Hit a bomb off Whitey Ford in Game 1 that went off the scoreboard. And think about that. I mean, he made his Major League debut in 1962. 2 years later, he's playing against the New York Yankees in the World Series, and he hits a bomb off Whitey Ford. How about that for a statement? Hello, we're the Cardinals, and we're here to stay. And then in 1967, which I believe is the greatest Cardinals team of all time, he famously makes the move from right field to third base to accommodate his friend, Roger Maris. In 67-68, he plays third base, and they go to the World Series again in 68. And actually, he received some MVP votes in 68. So, yeah, he was a huge part of the success of that team. He had that power. He had that incredible arm. In 64, I have a play-by-play highlight that Phil Rizzuto, the Yankees broadcaster, marvels at how that Shannon can fly when he is gliding through the outfield and he throws a bullet to second base to double off a runner. I mean, he had it all, man. He's the only person that I know of, I'm pretty sure the only one ever to be Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball in the state of Missouri. And he was able to accomplish that. It's widely known that Frank Broyles, the Missouri coach, said that Mike could have been a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. Mizzou was all over him. He went to Mizzou briefly and then decided to go to play baseball, and the rest is history. I asked him about that once. I said, "Why'd you choose baseball, Mike?" He goes, "Money."
Great answer.
That's a good reason. Tom Ackerman, our guest from KMOX, and Tom tomorrow night will be emotional. And one of Mike Shannon's favorite sayings is, "Old Abner's done it again." When something crazy would happen, he'd go back to the founder of baseball. Well, old Abner's done it again. The Anaheim Angels were the team in St. Louis when the news broke of the loss of Jack Buck, and they'll be the team in St. Louis tomorrow night.
That is correct. That is really something to think about, isn't it? And they will be here, and the Cardinals will be taking on Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and it will be a festive atmosphere, even though the Cardinals are not playing well. And I was asked this morning by one of our hosts, what would Mike say about this Cardinals team, do you think? And I said, well, he'd probably, as he never sugarcoated,
got to get it in gear.
He'd say this team is not very good right now, and they need to get it going. But maybe they can catch a little fire. And there's a very, very, very slim chance of this happening. Shohei Ohtani will be a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to go somewhere, and they're going to pay him a huge sum of money. But if Cardinals fans wanted to show him what it's like to be in St. Louis, they have a chance to do that tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, it should be a fun series. But, Tom, thanks for joining us. I know, like I said earlier, definitely a sad day, but it's fun hearing the stories about Mike Shannon. Let's do it again soon and talk about this Cardinals team.
Yeah, and hopefully the next time we talk, they are 9 games above 500.
That would be nice.
And trying to chase down a division title. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom Ackerman from KMOX in St. Louis joining us to talk about the life of Mike Shannon, who passed away over the weekend at age 83. But let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Chris Price, it's so good to see you. And you have a new business?
Yes, Dave. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Have you noticed water stains on your ceiling? With storm season here, take a walk around your home or business and look up. Make sure there are no water stains signaling a leak prior to the heavy storms coming in. If you do see signs of water, call me. My team and I will come out, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a fix. Our team of Hague-certified inspectors are waiting to assist with any inspection or repairs you may need. We have 3 crews dedicated to repairing roofs in the Mid-South. As certified Owens Corning and Mule High dealers, we offer 20-year, no-dollar limit labor and material warranties that offer hassle-free ownership. That's our hassle-free ownership guarantee. Allow Metro Builders team of professionals to assist you in maintaining your property's integrity and value. MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Your local commercial roof experts. Ask about our commercial roof maintenance agreements. Protect your investment with MetroBuildersMemphis.com. Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. 375-1717.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
I'm with John Virgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, I want to talk about our seasoning and sauce today. Our sauce is a great blend of sweet, mustard, and vinegar. It's good on so many items other than barbecue. It's good on pizza. People use it in lieu of ketchup. But our seasoning is the original dry rub, created by my father using a mixture of Greek and Cajun spices. People think our sauce and seasoning are good just during the grilling season. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's good year-round. Our seasoning is good on fish, chicken, deviled eggs, corn on the cob, French fries. People even put a dash in a Bloody Mary. To get a complete list of all of our recipes using our products, go to hogsfly.com, click recipes, and you'll see 50 wonderful items and dishes. And Brett, our sauce and seasoning is available at most grocery stores, and if they don't have it, please remind your grocer to stock it. And our slaw is also available at most Kroger stores.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
The Showboats are back in Memphis. Oh, we can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go.
Get your seats now for this weekend's home game.
Here we go.
Be a part of the new era of pro football at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Tickets start at just $10, so bring the whole family and don't miss the Showboats' exciting matchup.
It's a touchdown.
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
You might want to go first, I
think you should go first, Brian,
sure?
unless Brett wants
Brett?
to.
Bryant, all yours.
All right, I'll go first. Over the weekend on Saturday, there were 2 no-hit bids in Major League Baseball that went at least 6 innings. Easton McGee.
Lance Lynn went deep.
Lance Lynn was one of them. Easton McGee for the Mariners went 6 2/3 innings. Lance Lynn went 6 innings for the White Sox. Both teams ended up losing the game. It's the first time.
Got blasted.
Yeah. It's the first time. 2 is my big number. It's the first time 2 teams allowed no hits through 6 innings and lost on the same day since May 18th, 1983, when it happened to, again, the White Sox and Cleveland.
That is the way back machine. Good stuff, Jay Morgan.
If there was a way I could make my big number reading Adam Wainwright's pitching line from the Redbirds, I would do that. But I'm not going to do it. I'll have a different baseball stat, though. It's a Shohei Ohtani number. My big number today is 7. So he hit home run to center field yesterday, 39-degree launch angle. That basically equals it was in the air for 7 full seconds.
Good Lord.
It is the highest in
That's a punt.
highest in MLB StatCast history, highest hit home run. Really an unbelievable stat. I mean, if you really just sit there and count to 7 and just think how long that baseball was in the air, truly unbelievable.
That's insane.
It is, and it will be big crowds for him in St. Louis. And tomorrow night, you know there'll be a good ceremony recognizing the life and times, the impactful times of Mike Shannon. My big number is 107. 56 wins last year, 51 wins this year for the Grizzlies. That's 107 wins. I want people to think about that in all this agitation, frustration. Look, I wanted basketball at FedEx Forum yesterday. I wanted a Western Conference Finals run at minimum. We used to talk about the prospect of June basketball or at least late May basketball. We didn't get any May basketball. I'm aggravated too. But remember, 107 wins. That's worth something. And also remember that collective age group.
Yeah.
Again, they're no longer newbies. David Cobb made that point. I made that point earlier. We all know it. They're no longer newbies. We're not talking about a young team. And it is time to mature some on and off the floor, and I think they will. And this year was a learning experience. But this isn't a team to give up on.
No. Not at all.
You had a whole mess of big numbers in there, Brett. You could have a big number that's the average age of the team. You could have a big number that's the combined win total from the last 2 years. I mean, take your pick.
and ultimately, you could also have this number. Only one playoff series win the last 2 years.
I don't like that number as much as the first 2 years.
I don't either. I don't either. And I don't like having to state the obvious. I don't like having to have the critical assessment of this team, but we're going to.
Yeah.
We do it for everyone. I don't need to hear y'all need to criticize them as much as you do the Tigers. We praise, we cheerlead when praising and cheerleading is necessary.
Sure.
When it's critical assessment time, we're going to have that, and we've had that. And we're going to do that whether it's Tiger football, Tiger basketball, the Grizzlies, Tennessee football, Tennessee basketball, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Alabama, LSU, Mississippi State, Georgia, all of it in this melting pot of our listening audience. We're not going to exclude anything, and we're not going to play favorites with anybody.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, another big number I could have done was 40.
What is 40 in reference to?
Mel Kiper.
Well, I know what 40 was Friday night.
No, not that 40. Mel Kiper did his 40th in the NFL draft over the weekend. You know, the question going around is, should he be in the Football Hall of Fame in Canton?
What's your verdict?
Sure, why not?
Brett, what's your verdict?
Well, you're talking about for the broad. Is there a distinct broadcast wing at Canton like it is at Cooperstown?
Baseball, yeah.
Because really and truly, when you hear Baseball Hall of Famer, their bust is not in the room the room of legends.
Right.
They got honored as the Ford Frick winner by the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, okay, just being nice and courteous, you can say that they're Baseball Hall of Famers.
Sure.
But now in Canton, do the media members' busts go up?
That is a question I do not know.
Way.
There's no chance.
There's no way. Tim Kirchin won that baseball award last year, didn't he? Isn't that right?
That's
right. And Jack Buck won it in 1987. Mike Shannon's been up for it a lot. Bob Costas won it. I think Joe Buck has won it for Cooperstown and Canton. I think.
Really? He might have.
But
interesting.
I mean, as far as an equal to somebody that bled and sweat, I'd never put anybody that was at a typewriter. I'm sorry.
No.
Or behind a microphone, for that matter. Talking to Joe Buck.
Yeah.
Can I take another left turn and give my Adam Wainwright line for the Redbirds as a big number?
I was going to ask you, yes, please.
Adam Wainwright in his game with Memphis, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, a walk, 9 Ks, 89 pitches, 61 of them were strikes. Velocity topped out at 89 miles an hour, but he got some swing and miss with the slider and the curveball. Not a good sign for the Cardinals.
No.
But as y'all know, I don't make a lot of friends on Hall of Fame conversation.
You do not.
And I'm very particular about it. The idea that Sean McKeel was low man at a golf major, and he's not in the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame, and some others are.
Well,
please.
Brett, that's another conversation for another day, I believe.
I have his golf clubs.
Do you really?
I have a set of his golf clubs.
Wow.
Major champion Sean McKeel.
That's a good point. Yeah. So
and people can go, well, hey, there's only been a couple of classes of it. Well, some of the ones that have gotten in could have been in class 19.
Yep.
And Sean McKeel and Pau Gasol and others,
class 1.
Ross Grimsley, who's pitched in the World Series, could have been in the first one or two.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm completely on your side in that one, Brett, for sure. But it's an interesting conversation. The Adam Wainwright stat line, not great. If I had to guess, I'd say you'd maybe see him another game in Memphis. But
maybe
who knows?
so.
Maybe.
Maybe he'll throw it harder than 89 next time.
Redbirds back at home tomorrow night.
That's right, against the Jumbo Shrimp. So it should be a fun series.
First place Redbirds.
That's right. Maybe best minor league team in all of baseball. So it'll be fun. Go out there and see him this week. Jordan Walker will be his first homestand with the Redbirds. But let's go ahead and end this hour. When we come back to start the 5 o'clock hour, DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal will join us to talk about the Grizzlies. That's next.
When I say hot wings, the first flavor that pops into your head is buffalo, right? Well, let the Crazy Coop open your mind and awaken your taste buds to a huge variety of crazy chicken wing flavors, like Buffalo Ranch, a perfect combo of ranch with just a little kick. Mango Habanero, the sweet taste of mango that's followed by the heat. Or Sweet Maple Bourbon, the taste is going to remind you of chicken and waffles. Now, that's just 3 of the 27 chicken wing seasons that you can get at the Crazy Coop. Now, you can try those 3 seasonings in a lunch special on 3 whole wings or 6 party wings with a regular fry and drink for just $9.99 at the Crazy Coop, 7199 Stage Road in Bartlett. And now open the Crazy Coop Express at 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Now some do like it hot, and if you're one, then try the Crazy Sweet Lemon Pepper Hot or the Crazy Suicide. But if you've got a more subdued palate, then try the 4 cheese, roasted garlic, or barbecue bacon. You want the sauces and seasonings without the chicken? Okay. Family owned and operated, the Crazy Coop. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Dr. Rick here. Another sign you're becoming your parents is getting particular about details that don't matter.
The craziest thing happened when we got tacos the other day. Was it Wednesday or Thursday we got tacos? I know it wasn't Tuesday because that's when I went to my hairdresser. Shoot, what day was it?
See how we all lost interest there?
Progressive can't help you from becoming your parents, but we can help you compare rates on home insurance with Home Quote Explorer.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Everything's greening up, and it's my favorite time of the year because we start playing golf, and I got the best place to go play golf. That is beautiful Miramichi in Woodstock, about 12 minutes from downtown. This gorgeous place, well, it's challenging, but the scenery is so darn beautiful. And did you know that Miramichi Golf Course now offers memberships? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their membership runs $300 a month plus tax and includes unlimited rounds, range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. There is no initiation fee. So you want to go and just practice. They got the best practice facilities around. Unlimited range balls, and it's $300 a month plus play whenever you want to. It's a win-win. Call today for your membership. You want to act fast because there are only a few spots left at the great Miramichi.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant Dacus, Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder with you and joining us now like he always does at 5 o'clock on a Monday to talk about the Grizzlies. DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal is with us now. DeMichael, thanks for joining us, and Friday did not go the way a lot of people here locally wanted it to go. Not only was it a loss to end the season, but a 40-point loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. What did you think of what the Grizzlies showed Friday night in a very lopsided loss?
Man, if you just watch how the series played out, when that Luke Kennard injury happened and once it was officially known that he wasn't going to play, it was always going to be tough for them to win Game 6 in LA. But they didn't have enough players who were productive consistently in that series. And then from a game planning perspective, the Lakers took advantage of that. The Lakers said, hey, Desmond Bane is the one guy we got to worry about as a perimeter threat. So let's stay attached to him. Let's throw two guys at him off of screens and things like that. Let's keep Anthony Davis on the floor anytime Ja Morant drives to the basket, and we'll win. And that's what they did.
They did do that, and DeMichael, the Grizzlies season ends, and this is our final visit with you for a while on Mondays. First, thank you so much for all the time that you've allowed for us and the information and the good stuff you give us. And I know you're ready for an off season of some rest. But I go back to game one. I go back to 2 weeks ago yesterday, and I go back to last year in the second round a year ago today against Golden State. You get that 2 seed, you get that preferential seed, you get that home court advantage. You got to cash it in games 1 and 2.
You're right. I mean, we've seen it a couple years in a row now, right? Game 1, the Grizzlies lose close games, and it's kind of been, it's kind of helped them. It eliminates that whole advantage of having the 2 seed right out of the bat, and that happened against Golden State last year. It happened against the Lakers in the first round this year. So, losing game 1 has kind of been a thing. Even last season against the Timberwolves, they lost game 1 in that series, but they turned that series around. But, in both cases, with the Lakers and with the Warriors, you're playing some teams who were battle-tested. They were motivated, and you give them that edge, that feeling where it says, oh, yeah, all we have to do is win our home game, so we're getting out of here. And that's what each team did. That's why each series ended in 6 games, because once you give them that first game, they feel like all we got to do is close it out at home from here.
Yeah. But Michael, a lot of the conversation really through the playoffs and now that we've started the offseason for the Grizzlies has been around Dillon Brooks, who's going to be a free agent this offseason. How do you think this offseason plays out between him and the Grizzlies?
I don't see Dillon Brooks re-signing with the Grizzlies. It's possible, but I think the only way it happens is it's more of your last resort type option. So just break down the Grizzlies roster real quick here. At the end of the day, what you have is 2 guys who are possible free agents, and that's Dillon Brooks and Xavier Tillman Sr. We saw Xavier Tillman Sr. perform in the postseason. We also talked to Zach Kleiman on yesterday, who said that Xavier Tillman is definitely in the plan for the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies have, to some point in June, it's late June, they have to accept the team option on Xavier Tillman Sr. It sounds like that's going to be a no-brainer for them, which leaves you 1 spot on the entire roster to upgrade, and that's the Dillon Brooks roster spot. So with that 1 spot, you're talking about you have a first-round draft pick. Of course, the Grizzlies want to be active in free agencies because you have the mid-level exception over $12 million. And then I'm sure they want to be on the trade market. So at the end of the day, it's either Dillon Brooks, a first-round pick, or trading that first-round pick and turning that into something, or acquiring a player through free agency. Right now, you only have 1 open roster spot. Now, of course, that could change, but I think that'll be through trade. I don't see the Grizzlies releasing any of those guys who are currently rostered. So there's the possibility of some guys being shifted out during trades, but how it pertains to Dillon Brooks is it's simple. The math is not in his favor. You talk about how the Grizzlies have accumulated all this young talent over the last 3 years. This is how we see it affect the team on the back end, because now you only have 1 open roster spot. Everyone else is under contract firmly. In that 1 spot, you're basically choosing between Dillon Brooks, potentially drafting someone in the first round, or potentially packaging that first round pick into getting someone in free agency or through a trade.
DeMichael, Dillon Brooks at trade deadline this year, how close do you think the Kleiman front office was to pulling off a blockbuster and maybe a deal involving Dillon Brooks this year at trade deadline?
Well, words out of Kleiman's mouth is they didn't quote-unquote shop Dillon Brooks. So, of course, you can use those words. They didn't shop Dillon Brooks at the deadline, but I think in order for some of those deals that were out there to get done, I think there was a strong possibility that Dylan Brooks was going to have to be someone who was potentially packaged in a deal because he had an expiring contract. Now, with Dylan Brooks being a free agent, I think, there's still other possibilities out there. Whether it pertains to Dylan Brooks, there's sign and trade options that the Grizzlies may pursue if they want to upgrade the roster. And then there are some other guys who are going to be on the expiring contracts this upcoming season who the Grizzlies could potentially put in trade packages. There's also the whole group of young talent. So there are ways to upgrade this roster. But with Dylan Brooks, you kind of see the writing on the wall. And the writing, we all know, money talks at the end of the day. And what the money told us with the Grizzlies is at the beginning of this season, there were 3 guys. We were talking about it here on this show. There were 3 guys who were up for extensions. It was Brandon Clark, Steven Adams, and Dylan Brooks. And we saw the Brandon Clark and Steven Adams deals get done pretty much back to back. But no Dylan Brooks deal. And no Dylan Brooks deal throughout the season. Very little talk of the deal. And that's kind of how we got here.
For you, DeMichael, is there any concern about the talk around Steven Adams going into this offseason? We've talked a lot of times about kind of throughout this injury, it seemed like, okay, in 4 weeks he might be back, and then we have the stem cell, and then he'll be ready for playoffs. And then yesterday, I believe it was Kleiman that said that he should be ready by the start of next year, but wasn't super committal about he'll be ready for opening day. Is there any concern there from you?
Yeah, for sure. There's concern into there's a firm timetable, and I think that's how everyone should approach this situation. Yeah. Right now, the Grizzlies, as you said, with Kleiman, he said the start of next season because that gives you a lot of time here to try to figure this thing out. Now, it's not the Grizzlies' fault that they don't have an answer to what's going on here. Right. Clearly, it's something that you don't see a lot. I mean, they did the stem cell injection. They gave him the initial timeline, and each time it's been delayed. There's still swelling. He's trying to do basketball things and whatnot. So I don't think it's the Grizzlies' fault, so to speak. But the thing is, it's so unusual. I think Kleiman knows that people want answers regarding Adams, and they're kind of trying to buy themselves some time, say, by the beginning of next season. When in reality, truth is, he probably could be ready at the end of June. We'll see, they're still consulting with doctors and things like that. But I want to give themselves some time. I think that there is some concern until the Grizzlies say, hey, Steven Adams is expected to return to basketball activity by, a certain time.
And DeMichael, at some point, if he doesn't return, for sure, I think the point is first day of camp come September, then the question has to be asked, is this career threatening?
Yeah, because if he's not back by then right now the approach is non-surgical, right? That's, if you want to look for the encouraging news in this, non-surgical is the approach that the team is saying. So they think this is something that can heal, without being cut open and all of that. So now I think if you're talking surgery and we're still having a delay, I think that's when you talk about, okay, his career, we need to have a longer conversation about what's really going on.
Yeah. DeMichael, I know more of a college sports term of the hot seat for a coach, but for Taylor Jenkins, is there any pressure going into this offseason and next season for him as a coach in terms of kind of being on a hot seat?
I wouldn't say hot seat quite yet, right, but it's warming up. I'll say it like this. Last season, no pressure. Year before that, no pressure.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now you won 50 games in back-to-back seasons. That's not going to impress people anymore. When Grizzlies win 52 games this year, nice. Congrats. Mm-hmm. That's not going to impress people anymore. The Grizzlies make the playoffs, first round, second round. Did that last year. Did that the year before. That's not going to impress people anymore. Now you're entering that phase where, I think Mark Jackson with Golden State. Those teams were really good. First, second round team though they'd win 50 games, but that was their ceiling, I guess you could say, during their tenure under Mark Jackson. And then you bring in Steve Kerr that next year, 67 wins, NBA championship. And, I mean, they're rolling 8 years later. So, with that being said, I think Taylor Jenkins has to prove this season that the Grizzlies can take that next step. Another 50-win season, first, second round exit, there's not much progress in that. Now, of course, we can say injuries and things like that played a role in this season, but there also was some things like, let's say, last year, right? The big conversation was half-court offense. It needs to improve. This year, same conversation. Half-court offense has to be better. Half-court offense was bad against the Lakers in the playoffs. It was bad in the playoffs against Golden State. Same problems carried over to the fourth quarter. We saw a couple times in the fourth quarter against the Lakers. The Grizzlies stalled in overtime, lost those games. Same thing, Golden State. You go back to the last couple games against Golden State, fourth quarters, stalled. So you're seeing kind of these trends that you want to see corrected. You know, the Grizzlies they have enough talent between Ja, Dez, Jaren Jackson Jr., at least those three on the floor most of the game. They have enough talent to be an upper tier half-court offense. There's not too many excuses for the lack of half-court success that they've had. So if you don't see progress in those areas, and then that translates to the postseason and not being much progress there, I think there's a real conversation that's going to be had after next season.
DeMichael Cole, our guest, the Commercial Appeal beat writer, covering all things Grizzlies, and he's been with us since October, every Monday, almost without fail. And the rare time or two exception was because of extreme travel difficulty and issues, and has been super to us. DeMichael, with that, in covering the team this year, how many times, and I know he doesn't check with you, and I know on game nights you've got more important to check an attendance book, but how many times do you think Robert Pera attended games, and did he attend any playoff games, home or road?
I was talking to someone about that towards the end of the season. I don't remember seeing Robert Pera since Summer League.
Wow.
With my own eyes, that is.
Right.
So, I mean, if he did come to a game, he wasn't courtside or anything. Maybe it was in, nice.
But don't you think you would hear about it in the building? Hey, Robert Pera, the owner's here tonight, a time or two?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And again, I don't remember hearing that at all. Now, like I said, last time I visibly laid my own eyes on Robert Pera was in the Summer League going into this season, going into this past season.
Yeah.
And I bring that up in look, from every report, both Grizzlies and outsiders around the NBA, that he has been a fantastic owner. If they need, I don't want to bring up the hot tub issue after the famous sauna fire a few years ago, but whatever they need, if they need, 10 more massage therapists, he hires 15. Well, however they travel is among the best in the league. They eat, diet, health, everything is the very best, that he's been great along those lines. I just wish he would like us, DeMichael.
You know what? If with the fan goggles, I say it like this, Brett. I personally, you don't have to come, but guess what? You give Desmond Bain this nice extension after you gave Ja that extension, after you gave Jaren that extension, and then you use that mid-level exception as the Grizzlies get ready to go in the luxury tax, then all is well. Because again, that money talks, and if he's spending that luxury tax money on the Grizzlies, then by all means, come to your 1 or 2 games a year.
Yeah. DeMichael, what is the plan kind of going into next year, the offseason, for Zaire? I know middle of the season sent him down to the G League team, but at times, even through the playoffs, when he came in, it was almost like I forgot he was even on the roster because of how much of a non-factor he became in this rotation. What is the plan within that front office when it comes to Zaire's development?
Yeah, remember going into last season, this past season, Zaire was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like when I watched Zaire at the tail end of this rookie year, it felt, looking at Dylan Brooks' contract, and I'm sure I mean, the Grizzlies wouldn't say this out loud, but you have to think these conversations through as a franchise. And I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this lines up perfectly. Where, season 2, his second year, he could take a little jump, and it would be perfect where Dylan Brooks' contract expires, Zaire takes over the starting small forward role and just seamlessly jumps right in. But that wasn't the second year you got. You're not comfortable with making that type of decision based on what we saw from Zaire in year 2 and injuries and all that. But getting back to your question on Zaire, the plan for next season, for one, he's going to be a third-year guy. Usually you don't see too many third-year guys in Summer League. We saw Xavier Tillman down there last season, and it sounds like the Grizzlies want Zaire to participate in Summer League. So I'd expect him to be down there in Salt Lake City and Las Vegas because the Grizzlies are going to do both this summer. So he should be down there in Summer League. So, again, that's a great opportunity for him to get a bunch of reps in there, and you just go from there. I mean, that's the starting point. Zaire just needs the reps. And I think the Grizzlies are invested in him. But I will say this. None of these young guys are safe right now until opening day of next year. I think at the end of the day, the Grizzlies, again, we've mapped out the roster here. Someone's probably going to get shipped out. And then at the end of the day, if it's a player that they like, that's the cost of doing business. And that could be, Zaire could be one of those guys. Now, I do know, I mean, John Morant, Desmond Bain, Taylor Jenkins, they all mentioned Zaire Williams. There's players there, even Zach Kleiman too. They all mentioned him by name, unprovoked, mentioned Zaire Williams. So I think everyone knows the talent. Like, it's a combination of finding the role for him getting the playing time, and we'll see. Just go look at the talent in his rookie year. The talent is there. It's all about opportunity and just the confidence and just putting him in that position to succeed.
Well, DeMichael, thanks for joining us. Like Brett said earlier, I mean, you've been a consistent part of our Monday afternoon since October, and it's been a lot of fun catching up with you every week. Hopefully we can maybe catch up with you around the NBA draft, but if not, definitely looking forward to getting back with you every Monday next season.
Hey, guys, appreciate you for having me. It's been fun, and we'll talk soon. Looking forward to it.
Definitely.
You got it, DeMichael, and I bet we see you at the golf tournament again this summer. That was fun last year.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Thank you, DeMichael. Get some rest. Thank you so much, DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal with us on the beat, covering all things Memphis Grizzlies. I want to ask you two this.
Okay.
On the floor, I don't want to get in any off-court soap opera. On the playing floor, what do you want to see John Morant dedicate himself to from after the 4th of July until training camp begins?
Defense would be my number one thing, but I don't think you can really translate that in one off season. So maybe, we've seen him work on 3-point shooting. Maybe stick with 3-point shooting.
Threes, man. If he could make threes, he would even be that much more dangerous on offense than he already is. If he could extend his game and make them consistently, that's big time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go much more simple than that. Get to that free throw line and become a knockdown 79% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
Just where you don't even move the net. It's just automatic when you go to the line. What about Jaren Jackson on the court?
Well, Brett, before we said those two things we said are might go hand in hand, truly.
Yeah.
You might see
really
those two things correlated going together there. Sorry to interrupt.
Well,
go ahead.
Since
What do you
you're
think about
talking,
Jaren?
No, go ahead. You're already talking. I love hearing your voice, Jay Morgan.
Yeah, I get in the gym, man. Get bigger.
Yeah.
You got to get bigger.
I think
for me, a little mid-range and get in the gym, and this is basic. Get a jump rope out and get a little more fine-tuned on agility, a little less gangly. I think he's going to grow out of that, and he's growing out of it with his body and learning how to play.
Sure.
But it's still a lot of arms and legs at times.
Yeah. I would say just mine would maybe the consistency in the jumper. Offensively, haven't seen that consistency yet from him, so that'd probably be from me.
Zach Kleiman. What's he got to work on in the offseason?
re-signing Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, that's going to be your go-to this whole offseason.
That's what I would say.
Are y'all? Where are y'all on Perry? Is it any big deal that he doesn't? I'm with DeMichael. If he keeps cutting those checks and bankrolling that team, and he has, and I prefaced it with all that. I know he's a great owner in a bunch of stuff we don't see.
Yeah.
Everybody can't be telling me that, and they all be wrong. I know he is. I know that he is. But golly, just why won't you give us a chance to at least like you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I mean, if he's everyone around the building is saying he's a great owner, then by all means, I could care less if you show up to a game or not.
I'm with you, but I know everybody can't be Ballmer in more ways than one. I heard
Cuban.
last night. I was listening to overnight talk radio last night on our station.
Nothing like it, Brett. I love it.
And I hit the Google machine to see if they were right today. Do y'all know what Steve Ballmer's net worth is?
Oh, I couldn't even guess.
I don't know.
$90 billion.
Whew.
That's unbelievable.
That is. That's
I can't even
$90
fathom.
billion.
I can't even fathom that. That's just a number to me. I can't
That's-
even fathom that
And
amount of money.
I can't really even fathom this, but I like to always use this example. That means tomorrow morning, if he lost $89 billion, $100 million, he would still have $900 million.
That's incredible. He would still be a millionaire after losing all of that money.
He would have $900 million if he lost $89 billion, $100 million tonight.
Really makes you think if we're in the right business.
Honestly, what did he do? I mean, let me hop over there. I'm
Well,
still young.
it inspired me. His dad was a Ford Motor Company exec, and he was off the charts genius in mathematics and everything like that. Goes to Harvard, befriended Bill Gates at Harvard, and then got into Microsoft with Bill Gates and ran
That's how you do it.
Microsoft for a long time.
So the lesson there is
Have rich friends.
Be friends with powerful people.
Well, and be smart.
And be smart
too.
and
That's
get
right.
into Harvard and
Well,
then befriend the really smart other people.
I'm 0 for 2 in those categories, I'm afraid.
Man, me too. I didn't check. I mean, Harvard, man, there's no chance I didn't get it. I know where I can go, and I'm going there tomorrow, and I'm going with a great crew. I'm going to the Collierville Commissary, Houston, Levy, and Poplar. Please join me. Or you can be at the original in Germantown. It's perfect for a big group. That Memphis-style barbecue and ribs just screams the Memphis way, the slow-cooked way. If you're craving an easier way to order it, you can text commissary to 33733. Start that barbecue feast with the appetizers. You got to go slow. You got to build to the big finish. It's like the layers of the playoffs. You got to start with the smoked chicken wings or the tamales or the cheese plate or the barbecue nachos, and then you build. You dig into the ribs or the shoulder, chopped or pulled on a plate, on a sandwich, with all the sides you can think of, like beans and slaw and deviled eggs and bread. You can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. Not this weekend, but the next is Mother's Day. And I know a lot of people are thinking, what are we going to do for Mom that weekend? With people coming in from out of town, you might have a different lunch plan than either location for the commissary, but you can get it to go and have it at home on Friday or Saturday night before you take Mom out, or you can take her to the commissary and show her how much you appreciate her, and you can do it at either place, New Collierville Commissary, Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. Save room for desserts, quite a challenge, like the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere, the banana pudding, and the strawberry cake. 901-754-5540, and you can enjoy that patio at the Collierville Commissary tonight, watching NBA, watching baseball, enjoying whatever you watching the hockey. If you want to watch the hockey tonight, you can enjoy that patio in Collierville tonight. 901-754-5540 or online at commissarybbq.com.
Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, it'll be time for What's Trending.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We're right in the middle of spring and summer's knocking at the door. And what's that I hear? You don't have a pool? Well, Family Leisure's happy to solve that issue for you because they have the lowest prices on pools in town. Plus, you can get a free liner upgrade during this pool sale. Want a spa? All spas in stock are up to $1,000 off. You want a play gym for the kids? They're on sale for under $2,000, and you can get special financing on any of those deals. Now, when you go to Family Leisure and you pick out what you want, I want you to tell that friendly salesperson, I heard on the radio I can get half off my installation. And that's true. You mentioned you heard this ad on radio, and you can get half off any installation. Pools, spas, play gyms, any installation. Don't go another year without. Get to Family Leisure, get a great deal, and get half off installation when you mention this ad. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelge and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop, here on Sports 56. Real sports talk.
It's Wrangler season out there. Warmer days, cooler nights. Open roads, endless horizons. And you need to be ready in jeans made for the unpredictable. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
The Showboats are back in Memphis.
Oh, we can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go.
Get your seats now for this weekend's home game.
Here we go.
Be a part of the new era of pro football at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium as the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Tickets start at just $10, so bring the whole family. And don't miss the Showboats' exciting matchup.
It's a touchdown.
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Times. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show and a lot to get to during this segment. But Brett, we talked a little bit about the Cardinals earlier. They can be able to turn around this week at home.
It's time to get started, isn't it?
Sure
April
is.
was certified disaster. All right, so 29 games in May. And I'm not talking about the complete tournament, but let's say May is a 17, 18 win month. That could happen. Take it right now and then try to do about the same thing in June.
Sure.
And around All-Star break, be 4, 5, 6 games over 500 and have that big second half push. The Cardinals always go on one. It feels like they always do. Only had one losing season in the 21st century, and that was in 07. And you're seeing a lot of comparisons to 07. 07 started badly in spring training with Tony La Russa having the very unfortunate driving infraction, the DUI, and then the nightmare of Josh Hancock early in that year being killed in an automobile accident in St. Louis, and on the field got much worse from there. That was much more serious than anything on the field. Ollie Marmol in year 2, he runs very, very agitated,
yes,
and I will say it, very, very cocky for somebody that's been around 5 minutes.
That's a great point. He really does, and I don't get it.
And it bugs me.
Bugs me too.
And it bugs me that he in Cardinal country we talk the Cardinal way. And I would like to ask him simply, do you believe there is a Cardinal way? Well, of course he's going to say yes. And then after he says yes, you tell me what you think that means. And I think that means fundamental baseball, throwing to the right bag, hitting behind the runner, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody has that.
Sure.
But another one is you act professional on and off the field. He's not in uniform in the dugout. That is not the Cardinal way.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the win-loss record, but you've never seen a Cardinal manager look like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth, but I don't know. I saw today that the Cardinals are now in the betting odds third to win the their division behind the Pirates and the Brewers now, and I'm pretty sure the odds tied with the Cubs.
I'm shocked third. I'm shocked ahead of the Cubs.
Yeah. Well, I think it's tied with the Cubs. I think them and the Cubs have the same odds to win the division, which is not something I expected before the year.
Good May, though. Angels at home. I don't believe in the Angels.
I don't either.
The Tigers at home.
I don't believe in them.
I did call the Tigers sneaky good
sneaky
earlier
good,
today.
though. I'll give them that.
On the road at Wrigley against the Cubs, but winnable. I mean, if their odds are the same, the Cubs aren't the best. They just got swept by the Marlins. That was on the road, though.
But they could be good.
They play the Red Sox in Boston. The Red Sox record's okay, but I don't think that team is very good, though.
Last place in the East.
But they have a winning record, though, don't they? It's like 15 and 12 or something like that. Milwaukee at home, divisional game. Milwaukee might be good.
Yeah.
Dodgers at home again, 4 games, might be a sweep.
Milwaukee's might be good.
Milwaukee's good.
There's something there.
There's something there. That's a good point.
There.
Cincinnati.
But I'm with you, Jay Morgan. I did the same thing. I kind of went W's and L's for May, and that's where I came up with my 16, 17, 18 game, a winning game.
If you can win that many games in May, I'm all for it. I don't care how it comes. Give me 16 or 17.
Right now, I want to put 2 in a row together.
I mean, that would be great.
With 17
win
or 18.
the first game in a series.
Well, Brett, I love your comparison to 2007, too, because one similarity from that team and this year's team is that the best pitcher on both of them was Adam Wainwright.
Yeah.
Haven't seen Adam Wainwright yet, though.
But this pitching staff is also atrocious. Maybe
awful.
Just as bad as this year's is. Braden Looper, Kip Wells, Anthony Reyes, Joel Pinheiro, and Todd Wellemeyer were the starting pitchers that season.
How you can forget about Todd?
That was a tough year. I want to tell the story. I was at Old Waverly one time, and it was a big crew, and this really nice man I started visiting with, just happenstance. And I asked him what he did, and he was kind of hospital administrator in hospital business in Tupelo, and we keep visiting. And my friend, the late great George Bryan, tells him, he goes, huge Cardinal fan like all of us. So really, he said, well, I bet you remember my son then. And I said, and I didn't really catch his name when he introduced. It was kind of loud, and I didn't really catch his last name, didn't put it together. It was Josh Hancock's dad. And this was years after the accident, after his death, and one of the strongest people I have ever been around in my life. And he said, as shattering as it was to our family, we're devout, we're family of faith, and they're still big Cardinal fans, and the Cardinal organization was great to them. That man was the pillar of strength.
Yeah, wow, That's incredible. I mean, it's so hard when you lose a child like that, I'm sure. And so that's
living the dream of playing Major League Baseball and all that goes with that, and then to have that happen. But for the Cardinals on the field this year, to string together a couple of good batting innings,
man,
it has been so feeble. I want to go back to the dialogue we had I had with David Cobb, and I didn't draw y'all into this, and I do now. And I would like for people to respond at 901-360-8255. Of the 2 endings, Tigers in Columbus losing to FAU or the Grizzlies bounced in the first round, which one was the uglier exit?
I don't know. I thought Florida Atlantic
I don't know business.
Yeah, I know. But I thought Florida Atlantic was the better team.
I'm going to do it on the basis of one, I think, well, I'm going to say they were healthy, but they were missing, what's his name? Keontae Kennedy. I'm sorry to call him what's his name. That's disrespectful.
Supposedly he's going to make his announcement
I truly do apologize for that. But my point is one team was relatively healthy, the people that mattered, and one team wasn't. So for that reason, I'll say the Tigers is worse.
I just wonder when the Tigers will have that route, that direct route. Because look now, everybody after they lost, they had to beat Fairleigh Dickinson and just name the margin over little old Humpty, Tennessee, in New York City.
Yeah.
So I'm just using what people said on these airwaves and to me around town.
Yeah.
So when do you get that direct route again? For the Grizzlies, they have this core. Now, to get through a NBA postseason is quite different than that one and done. I understand that. But the Grizzlies went backwards this year, but so did the Tigers.
Sure.
The Tigers advanced at least to a second game last year.
Yeah, the way you put it, I'd probably go with the Tigers too. And the way you put it, even if you don't beat Tennessee, just the opportunity, all you got to do is beat Fairleigh Dickinson after that game to play in a Sweet 16 game against Tennessee.
To go to Madison Square Garden.
Sign me up.
Remember, everybody said it was going to be done.
Yes.
If you only get by FAU.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have. We were going to go to the Sweet 16 at minimum, maybe the 8, maybe the 4, and then go, oh, no, it wasn't that bad of an end.
Brett, you're giving what was said too much credit, because I remember seeing right after Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue, we're going to the Sweet 16, not an if we beat Florida Atlantic, they're going to the Sweet 16. So it was almost said before the game.
Now, we're going to be fair. We all had Jay Morgan didn't. Brian, both of us had the Grizzlies winning that series last week. You had 4-3. I had 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
4-1's a whopping miss. Yeah. So that's a really bad look, too.
That's true. It's very true. I don't think you're happy with either of them, but
No, we're not happy.
But, like Jay Morgan said, you had the injuries with the Grizzlies, and kind of like you said, is this isn't the roster construction that you have in college basketball nowadays, where we're still sitting here at the start of May, and you have no idea what the starting five is going to be for the Tigers next year. So I think very different in that terms, and that's probably why y'all sold me on the Tigers for sure.
Yeah, and for 52 weeks from now, the Grizzlies have to be in that second round.
Got to, I think, yeah. Yeah, hopefully they can were you saying earlier, Jay, you don't think they can add depth and re-sign Dylan Brooks?
It's center. Specifically,
I
that
see.
position.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you don't add some depth next year.
Oh, you can add good depth and re-sign Dylan Brooks. I think. I'm not real big into money stuff, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think if you can sign some depth, then yeah, you definitely with what you've got, the stars you have, this kind of big three that you want to make here in Memphis, yeah, you got to go to the second round at least, I would think, next year.
I just can't imagine next March. I hope I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that team being that consistent, that steady down the stretch of the year, no stumbles, no bobbles whatsoever, and setting up playing a number one ranked team at home on the last Sunday of the year with that collection of teams next year in the AAC, and then having that seemingly, as everybody said to me, easier route. I just can't imagine that happen. I can see the Grizzlies winning a first-round series before I see that. I don't know that I see the Grizzlies being a 2 seed 3 straight years.
Yeah, that'll be tough, especially with what the West will probably be next year. But, no, you're right. They're not going to – the Tigers aren't going to have a player on their roster next year better than Kendrick Davis or DeAndre Williams. So I think you're right. I think what they had last year was the best opportunity to make some sort of postseason run that they've had in a while, and not doing it was definitely a disappointment, especially when you're going to run off your entire team almost with graduation or transfers.
And the Tiger freak out, it didn't come until that exit from the NCAA tournament. And that team did go to the Final Four. That needs to be said, and I think you did. That needs to be said. But we went all year without that ugly loss for the Tigers. Got through that early portion of the schedule where you really, build your resume in the net world. We got through all that fine, kind of even past the overtime at UCF. Those things happen, but it was still no freak out over it. Next year that bumbling, stumbling early January loss to someone, and I'm not talking about at Tulane, something perceived to be worse.
Yeah, Charlotte. That would be perceived worse, I guess. I like Charlotte, though. It's a good basketball team.
Riddled with injuries as well.
Who, Charlotte?
Mm-hmm.
No. I was talking about the college,
I see.
Not the NBA team. I'm talking about college basketball. But, yeah, no, I would say it's probably the Tigers. But, I think a lot of questions to be answered for the Grizzlies this offseason. The biggest one being Dylan Brooks. I think you need to go out and re-sign him. But then, how do you start the season at center? Who's there?
Well, we don't know for sure that Steven Adams and they said Brandon Clark probably won't.
That's what I'm saying. Can you start the season with that,
And
Steven
also,
Adams out there, or are you going to have to rely on someone else?
Xavier Tillman starting the season as the starting center is a lot more manageable in a regular season than it is in an NBA playoff series.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it's the first couple games of the season or whatever is nothing really, but
like Brett said as well, a long question mark for Steven Adams is.
I don't like that.
That's
real quick, and we'll expand on this later this week and into the summer before next year. I don't want to beat a dead horse about it, but we'll get to this point. Do you think one or the other gets preferential treatment around town from fans and media a lot?
Grizzlies or Tigers?
Mm-hmm.
I think probably Tigers more than Grizzlies. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I can't decide.
Interesting. What do you think, Brett?
I think it's pretty equitable.
Yeah.
I think when it's time to cheerlead and love, we cheerlead and love. When it's time to be critical, I think it's out there. I don't think there's one more than the other one. The bond the community has with the Tigers, of course, goes back a lot more, and it works in the Grizzlies' favor. We're such a melting pot of all those other different fans.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Alabama, all that SEC influence. Well, they all can go to the Grizzlies game.
That's true.
And Towel Wave. A lot of those people aren't going to a Tiger game, and John Calipari, frankly, told a lot of them to scram and stay away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It really is, though. That really is. Yeah. That's something that everybody comes together on in a way that they don't. It's not like just people living in the city are going to cheer on the University of Memphis just because they live here.
But they will for a professional team, for sure.
Certainly.
So, yeah, definitely different. But you're right. We'll come back to that a little later.
Great news for the Showboats then, right? We'll support a pro team.
We'll fire up for a spring team. I mean, you can't cheer for anybody else if it's a brand new spring league team that's only a couple years old, so. It's a great point. Let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, it'll be time for Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Forget where you left the keys? Forget where you parked the car? Forget to feed the kids? As we get older, we forget things. Forget no more. Vita Memory Max restores your brain power to get you back to life without all the clutter. Work more efficiently. Get back on track with Vita Memory Max. Go to VitaMemoryMax.com. That's VitaMemoryMax.com. Don't forget, VitaMemoryMax.com. Use promo code RADIO for a free month supply. Details at VitaMemoryMax.com.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year. Add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique, fun bet types like same-game parlay, and exclusive always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boost on the biggest events to let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they even get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. If you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com, Sports56 promo code to get in on the action, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Just go to FanDuel.com, Sports56 to join now or sign into your FanDuel Sportsbook account. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable. Bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Looking for a new lawnmower? Golf Cars of Hernando has the Gravely line of zero-turn lawnmowers in stock, and they work on them. Looking for a new golf cart? Golf Cars of Hernando has Yamaha and Star brands of golf carts in stock, and they also service most makes and models of golf cars. Financing is available with applicable credit at Golf Cars of Hernando. Call today, 662-429-1566, 662-429-1566. Golf Cars of Hernando.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye!
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, what I learned today, great news for the Phillies. Tomorrow, Bryce Harper will make his first start of the season for Philadelphia. He had Tommy John surgery last year, and only 159 days after that surgery, he will make his first start for the Phillies. It was initially expected that he wouldn't return until July, but he's exceeded all expectations, and he'll be a DH tomorrow night. I know he's been swinging a bat for about a month or so now, I believe.
What a hero! What
a guy! I mean, Bryce Harper. I mean, Captain America really should be.
But nothing in the field, just DH.
Just DH tomorrow night.
Well, that's enough. That's good. And Philly's right there. I think they can probably still get hot. I learned I could not count, and there's no way if I had to pay any amount for the hours of enjoyment as a Cardinals fan that Mike Shannon delivered for me and many, 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 many others. And not just the great times, but as I said earlier, that slow Wednesday afternoon, you just turn on a kind of late June game, and he was there. It was there. And remember, for Cardinal fans, in the 70s, it was rough. It's not like it hadn't always been like this. It hadn't always been, always contending. But he was great, whether it was playing out a string in September or the big moments, a big, fun personality that made us all have a lot of good times.
Absolutely. What I could have done with that, well, it's easy. If you go back to Saturday and the slate of baseball games, you can kind of scroll through some of the scores for the Saturday afternoon game. 6-3, 16-1, 3-2, and then 16-11 between the Giants and the Padres because they were playing
over and under 15.5.
Incredible.
Hammered that over.
Hammered the over. But that's because they were playing in Mexico City as part of the MLB World Tour. The altitude for the park they were playing at in Mexico City, 7,349 feet. That's 2,000 feet higher than the altitude in Denver, Colorado, which everyone knows. The ball flies in the Rockies ballpark. Well, the ball definitely flew in Mexico City.
At a small park, too.
Small park.
Like 325 to the corners, only 400 to dead centers, the furthest part of the
I don't
yard.
want to see another game in this ballpark.
Yeah, me either.
But yesterday was not a home run derby in that same ballpark.
Yeah, it was very low scoring. I didn't see the final score, but yeah, not as high scoring at all. 64 was the final.
I understand what baseball's doing. And y'all know I'm reluctant when I hear, they're trying to grow the game. No, they're trying to cash in on another market. I don't know that it's really growing the game that much. And I thought I'm with you, Brian. I did not enjoy it. I thought home run derby kind of debased the game. But I understand trying to attract new fans to people. But here's an idea. Here's a couple places I think we need to grow the game. Let's try growing the game in the Tampa-St. Pete area.
Yeah.
Let's try growing the game in South Florida for the Marlins fans. Let's try growing the game in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Let's try growing the game in those places.
I think that's a better idea.
What if they grow the game in Vegas? Sorry.
They're going to grow the game in Vegas. You can get ready for that.
Yeah.
I could have done without. I don't know how people didn't appreciate. I don't know many that didn't, but some that might not have didn't appreciate LeBron James before this Memphis series began, and now there's no way you can't appreciate what he has done and what he can do. He listened to DB make really a nationwide clown of himself, and then he goes out and wins the series, and he wins, ironically, Friday night by 40. Did that get Dylan Brooks' attention? Not 8-10, but by 40. I guess he should respect him now, but he says he's not changing.
Yeah, well, I guess now the season's over, why change now? What I'm keeping an eye on, only a handful of games in Major League Baseball, but 2 playoff games in the NBA, 76ers versus Celtics, Suns versus Nuggets, Jay Morgan's Rangers in action, Game 7 tonight.
Jay Morgan, man, you got to pull the sweater through for us tonight. Game 7 for Rangers at the Devils. Now, where do they play? Where does New Jersey play?
The Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey.
Help me with my geography. How far is Newark from, Manhattan?
Oh, I'm going to sound like a real New Yorker. A train ride away, Brett.
The famed parquet in the Celtics tonight against the 76ers. Game 2 after a Game 1 blowout in Denver. Chris Paul down in a series again. Blue Jays at Fenway against the Red Sox. Phillies at the Dodgers. And right now, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Texas, Baltimore, and Toronto would be in the playoffs if they started today.
Unreal. Quickly, Brett, where are we beaming you up tonight?
Beam me up to the parquet, Celtics 76ers. What about y'all?
Beam me up Suns versus Nuggets tonight, Ball Arena.
Beam me up to the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey.
Shocker.
Rangers, Devils, Game 7.
Shocker.
Train right away.
That's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement,